just enjoying the outdoors right now. Hang on, let me just like lower the volume for a second. It's blasting my eardrums. Hello, welcome back. I'm going to be finishing off the book, part 1. It's going to be very exciting. And yeah, I have to say it's shit's getting pretty serious. It's getting very, very serious right now. So, yeah, if you all remember in the previous stream when I was reading it up, like seriously, I was actually intending to read from like all the way from chapter 1 to the like the 15th chapter, but yeah, your girl got a sore throat, sore throat as they say. So yes, do you just want to like enjoy the music for a little bit and just be like, you know, and like I don't know, like wait for a little bit, just like, because I don't want to just like start reading right now and be you know, and then everyone's like, oh, what are you talking about? Can you start from the beginning again? Can you go back to the first page? Hey, Ramiro-san, how are you? What's cooking? I have really good news today. I am home alone. Thank fuck. And I can scream as much as I want, so I don't have to be bothered. No one's gonna bother me. Ain't no one going to interrupt this entire backdrop. Like, no one will be walking from that door over there, so it's fine. Okay. I was done with my cigarette. One more sip of coffee. Here you go. I'm really enjoying this one out. I don't know what, I seriously, thank you for putting up with me and joining me, and I really, really appreciate it. Okay. I'm doing good. How are you doing? I'm doing great, actually. I'm doing pretty, yeah, I'm sorry. I was just like checking which page I'm up to. I'm like, what the hell? Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. Oh man, you missed it. Reborn dropped a new catfish. Oh, what? No, I was there. I was there during that stream. I was. But the thing is, like, so, okay, alright, just to give you an idea, my sleeping is absolutely atrocious right now, and, my alarm clock went off, and I checked my phone and everything, and, I flicked to YouTube, and I saw the notifications that Reborn was streaming, and I'm like, oh, okay, and I just pressed the call, and I went back to sleep. And I could kind of hear what was going on, but, you know, my dreams were kind of mixed a little bit, you know. I could see Laurel crying, and I mean, I don't know if he was actually crying in this call, but you know, every single time he appears in my dreams, he's always in tears, and frankly, it's a dream. All right, I'm gonna just jump straight into it, and I'm going to start with chapter 11. Okay, Summer's Rise. So apparently, Summer never fucking leaves this place. So, you know, it just goes to show you my continuity needed a bit of work. The twin suns rose, bringing hotter and longer days to the province, followed by warmer nights. Their hunting party grew and fell, varying on the day's success. Edible plants had dried up and receded into the soil since the arrival of summer. Even the animals began disappearing. The few who knew about the hunting trips kept their silence to the other settlers, eventually ceasing the trips altogether. However, Ghoul never participated on these trips. His tent had been emptied since the discovery of the dead zealot. This didn't cease her worries, however. She prayed that the drunk had drowned in the salt water She prayed that the drunk had drowned in the salt water, or a large winged lizard had caught him, but there were no signs of him. As if the land itself had swallowed him. Khan felt his absence the hardest. He pushed to find his whereabouts, yet was no closer to finding him. Von Ratha tried turning away from Khan's deteriorating form in both spirit and body. An all too familiar sight. She had every intention to find the drink-afflicted Jirian. However, she wanted to be the only one to have that honor. If Ghoul still breathed, he would forever remain a threat, both to her chance to return home and to the minor reputation she earned as a healer in the settlement. Khan's rejuvenated lips couldn't remain shut, she thought. It didn't take long for the citizens of Nigeria to consume their energy supplies, and they had begun thinning, while Zenin and those closest to him remained unaffected by the growing famine. Had the supplies been saved, by this time the fruits of the Nigerian blackberries bushes would have cushioned the hungry crowds. Many would pray to the twins, yet the dual suns in the sky fell deaf on the people's calls. Even some prayed to the tiny effigies of Zolrin, but were met with the same silence. Hope dwindled as von Ratha used every bit of her strength to keep the strongest alive. Hunger turned into starvation as people openly attacked each other and the zealots. Zenin would have none of it, however. The numbers shrunk as executions became a regular occurrence. Through the rising chaos, von Ratha had found new forms to supplement her energy, something she neglected to mention to the others. In turn, she kept to the tent to conserve her energy, and only emerged when an animal wandered too close to her circle, or when a particularly vicious brawl would break. "Can you move it up?" she said, as she retracted her telekinetic power from the patient's shoulder. The male slave winced as he slowly lifted his arm above his head. "It's better than it was before." Von Ratha nodded. "Next time, if you're going to climb a steep wall of a canyon, don't." His head gave a short nod and an awkward bow before skipping out of the small tent. She eased her back into the thick quilts. A slit of her dark robes revealed a portion of her hip and thigh. It took a moment for her to see that her once muscular and defined leg had shrunk to thin straps of meat on her gradually protruding hip and knee bones. Before the pang of hunger entered her mind, her senses picked up a fight beyond her tent. She focused her mind on the energy being thrown about outside, but it was more chaotic than usual. She hopped on her feet and shouldered the curtains out of the way. Her eyes took a moment to adjust to the powerful beams of the sun in the blue heavens. Crowds packed around several dark caravans in alignment. Zealots stood around the carrier's edges, kicking hands of those who tried to claw their way in. Shiny reflections from the bold slaves bounced as they cleaned and oiled the wheels, while the others shifted heavy equipment. Her heart skipped a beat when she realized they were preparing to go. A smile worked its way up to von Ratha's mouth as she turned to the newly completed town hall. Zenin stood tall over the only balcony as he overlooked the chaos. His wide form almost grazed the railings of the balcony. He wore a rich scarlet cape with a gold chain holding the piece together as his belly pressed against the metal. His face was stone, unmoving as his dead eyes watched over the valley. The cruel, wily youth she knew was replaced with something more horrendous. "Vaughn, I'm so happy to see you out!" Khan's voice broke her stare. His long and lanky body shambled towards her. "They're finally gonna do a supply run from home." Her cheeks squeezed out a grin, but it tightened into a wince as she watched the crowd push the wagons hard enough to make the wheels groan with duress. "Why are they so restless? Don't they realize if they continue disrupting everything, they will only delay eating?" she said as her eyes narrowed to the loud horde. "They're starving. You can't expect them to think normally." He leaned close to her ear and snuck a glance to Zenin's balcony. "Between us, I'm surprised that he's not calling for all their heads." "Don't give him that idea. I can't repair lost heads. Do you know who will get to go or when?" Her voice almost drowned out the others. Khan violently shook his head. By light set and only a skeleton crew, from what I've heard. Keep the carts fast and light, but also stop people from trying to leave. Too many already want to quit this place." Von Ratha gently chewed on the skin of her lip. Her eyes glazed across the carriers, catching the gaps and pockets she could hide in. Her attention was grabbed by the wet, guttural cleaning of the throat. Several heads turned towards the balcony, and so did hers. Zenin's thick fingers wrapped around the railings, his upper body slightly hunched over as his cheeks puffed in a confident grin. "Citizens of Nigeria, the last several days have been the most trying times. But remember, we are pioneers that the twins have chosen to tame this wild place. I understand that many of you allowed hunger to take your minds, but don't let it diminish our dreams. When the sun sets, not only will our convoy depart for Jiria, but also you will have the opportunity to unleash your rage on the one that did this to us. The twins watch over." The crowd of living bones chatted excitedly amongst themselves. Their pursuit of climbing on the caravans had seemingly been forgotten. Von Rather glanced as Zenon swiped his cloak around and disappeared into the open doors before slamming them shut. Worry poked through her mind as she replayed his last words. No one knew it was her, so there wouldn't be any suspicion her way. She was somewhat a healer after all. Wouldn't that be something? I'd want that monster that did this to still be alive by the time the caravans return, so I can eat while they're kicking them in the jaw. I wish Ghoul could be here to see this, Khan said as he twisted his hands into fists. Von Rather chuckled. It wouldn't be too difficult to prolong the culprit's suffering, but considering everyone want a piece of them, they'll succumb to the first night. They'll succumb after the first night. They would know They would know who it is by now. Why haven't they done anything about it yet? He said. Might already be a prisoner. Who knows? She said as blood started to rush to her head and her vision slightly blurred. My energy's low. I need to rest. I'll escort you. Khan lifted his elbow, which she immediately took. Something that bothers me, though, he said once they were beyond the loud camp. The night when everything happened, I feel like I have this black hole inside my head that I've been trying to make sense of. Von Rather's cheeks involuntarily twitched before turning to Khan, putting on a mask of concern. A black hole? I don't know if I can explain it. They stopped at the front of the tent before he turned to her. We were together that night, were we? Of sorts. Of sorts, though you fell asleep immediately after. Why? She said. Khan sighed as he placed a hand over his temple and a small smile crept in. It's just, maybe I could have sensed the person who did this outside and blocked the thought of it. Because I'm sorry, I can't remember. I'll try to. Don't stress yourself. You probably wish you didn't remember. Her eyes rolled as she pushed the tent curtains aside and slipped into its shade. The outline of Khan's shadow lingered outside the cloth. He shuffled his feet before wandering away. A part of her had hoped he would follow her in, like she had grown accustomed to. But his dark figure grew fainter and the further he walked. Von Rather settled inside her sleeping sack. She lifted her hands over her covers and watched a dim red outline resonating from her thinned fingers. The lids of her eyes felt as the lids of her eyes felt as if they had a stone pressing against them. It's been far too long since she had fed from a life force. She was forced to indirectly feed of those who had died in the town and the raw discord when the fighting would erupt. Considering how much energy she had been using, it wasn't enough to sustain her. And she was worried that she might be too drained to sneak onto the carriage. She rolled over to the tent's edge. A tiny frayed opening in the fabric showed a long line of convoys getting ready for their emergency trip to Jiria. Von Rather's time in the Barrier Hills had come to an end. She was going to be on that convoy on her way home and finally meet the ones who forced her out here. Before her eyelids rolled down, she had hoped that the convoy would return in haste with fresh... Before her eyelids rolled down, she had hoped that the convoy would at least return in haste for fresh supplies for the new Jiria at least. I don't know if I worded that properly. I do apologize. Okay, smoke time. I'm gonna say hi to everyone first. How's it going? What is doing? Okay, let me see. Alright, hang on. Hold on. Hi, Clubber, how are you? Hi, Joey. Hi, Lord Identity. Let's see. Wait, do I see, like, Joey's TCAP channel, like, blocked Mike Pence? Or Mike Penis? He still hasn't changed his name. I'm very disappointed. Actually, next time, he even wants to pull more tomfoolery. Block him. if he doesn't change his name, you have my permission to remove him. New Jersey? No, Joey, it's New Jiria. It's Jiria. It's on another planet. Hey, Omega, how are you? Oh my fucking word. You keep blocking my pants. Oh my god. Roy, I need more mods. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Hey, you know what I did though? I deliberately left. I deliberately made everyone else mod except Mike Pence, so y'all could bully him effectively. All right, I'm gonna need a cigarette. Oh my word. Are you guys enjoying it so far? Yeah. I mean, look how we're so close. We're so close. Don't worry, it goes a lot faster than you think. After a while, it's like, wow, the real drop bear is me. Yeah, it's true. Facts. You know, I realized something. I need more pets. I need more pets. I definitely need more pets. Okay, if I could actually pick a pet that I would like to have, it'd be a crocodile. Yeah. Or a Doberman, one of those two. No, wait a minute. No, hang on. No, if I could, no. Okay, wait a minute. No, I would go for a crocodile because they make the sweetest purring sounds. And the baby crocodiles, like, they sound like little, like, you know, laser beams, like you tear apart his emotions with your razor sharp teeth. Koalas, exactly. Yeah, a red roo. Goodness great. Yeah, but like red roos, you know, I mean, look, alright, I'm gonna say so, you know, now a red crocodile. A swole red roo. A swole red crocodile? That's the popular thing. That's what all the kids are getting these days. Hey Roscoe, how are you? Who's a good doofy good doofy baby? What is it? Cutie doofy baby. Can't remember the exact phrase. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It's okay. Close enough. Well, welcome. I didn't know you could type with your long ass claws. I'm very impressed. Alright, now let's get back to... Wait. One more sip of coffee. Look, it's Game of Thrones. And... Targaryen, yeah. I'm trying to get my hair white, you know. I would love to actually show up on one of these streams and just like have like a full-on like Daenerys outfit happening. I like her outfit when she went absolutely crazy though. Anyway, let's continue this before you guys start screaming at me. Beyond the safety of her tent, she could hear the crunch of gravel and a screech from metal wheels. Voices called to one another, but the words unknown to her mostly unconscious mind. It took her a moment before her eyes sprung open. The convoy was ready to leave. However, it was a heart-pounding slap of large hands that finally woke her from her dreamless sleep. Von Ratha's tired head drifted to the opening of the tent, held by two dark metal fingers. Her eyes traveled to the head to whom the fingers belonged. A faceless zealot peered at her, its menacing orange eye sockets. Are you the healer? Von Ratha licked her dry lips and nodded as she rose from her bedding. The zealot straightened and moved from the opening, marking a space for an engorged belly, with a deep hole in the center to appear in her sight. Zenin's jewelry on his chest slightly jingled as he struggled to bend through the curtains. His round form took most of the space inside the tent as he plopped down on Khan's empty bedding. Zenin's breath wheezed as his wide rump tried to find comfort on the blankets. Heard amazing things about you, healer. His head slightly bowed as her eyes remained cast downwards, trying to assume respect while thinking of ways to get rid of him from her presence before hopping on the carriages. There is a delicate matter that needs attention, Zenin grunted as his thick thighs moved to the edge and his hand lifted a fleshy roll. It was the stench that hit her nose first. Blackened tissue sat in the nook of two meaty stomachs, with small droplets of blue liquid seeping from the opening. She kept herself from recoiling in disgust. A lump in her throat jumped in her neck as she pulled out a torn napkin from Khan's satchel. How long has that been there for? She kept herself from quite a few years, and there have been many more like that on me. Not even the Oracle's personal healers could remove this blight. I had almost given up until I heard the rumors about your exceptional gifts. His eyes were as bright as his grin, however they were barren of warmth. I'll see what I can do, she muttered as she kept her eyes on the unusual wound before her mind reached beneath his skin. There were several tiny living creatures, too small for the naked eye to spot, which thrived inside his flesh. The scarlet light had appeared around the wound as she pulled them out one by one before discarding them inside the cloth in her palm. Zenon remained silent throughout the procedure, even when she tightly sealed the opening and forced the skin to attach over it. His eyes and smile never left her. This is what was living inside you, Master, she said, holding up the cloth containing a small wriggling lump of tiny creatures. Zenon glanced down in her hand. His face remained unmoved by the disturbing discovery. That explains a lot. Von Ratha wrapped the lump in more cloth. Her fan squeezed it until every one of them died before discarding the wet material. It's completely healed. How curious. I've only ever known one who had gifts like yours, he said, releasing his thick roll as it flopped before into one mass. Her head twitched to the side as she forced her mind blank. Who? Zenon's thin lips curled. Someone from when I was just a small fledgling, though they didn't use their power to heal. Tell me, do you feel fatigued after using your gifts? Von Ratha nodded, which Zenon mimicked. Will that be all you need of the servant, Master? A powerful chuckle escaped his odorous mouth as his thick hand slapped his knee. I think not. You are to be my prime healer for New Geria. All good leaders need one and deserve to be inside the stone walls and not filthy tents. Her face cracked into a smile, but her nerves began simmering in her chest. Thank you, Master. Well, I don't want you to tire out too much. However, I request that you join me in the town hall tonight, he said as his body rolled to his feet. To continue work on you, Master? She said warily. If he lost his balance, he could try to crush her. Not for the moment, but for a close associate of mine that needs attention. Come, he said with a wave of his hand before disappearing outside the tent. Von Ratha silently groaned as she pushed herself out of the quilts and folded behind him. The braziers were dim in the early night because they were left with fewer things to burn. Her chest tightened as she stared out into the night to see the line of carriages moving slowly out of the valley. Time was at a close. Several zealots closely walked behind her and Zenon, 2 at her sides and 3 circling around him. However, there were no others wandering in the growing village. She contemplated whether to create enough distance between both groups and put the guards beside her to sleep and dash to the convoy, but that was far too risky. Von Ratha cursed herself for not putting Zenon to sleep sooner in her tent and having not snuck out instead of agreeing to his commands. The town hall was the only completed stone and metal structure in the hills. It certainly didn't hold the same majesty as the spiral towers in Geria, but the craftsmanship was to be admired, even more so as it was constructed by starving slaves. The metallic doors that mimicked snake scales swung open before Zenon and his guards stepped in. She followed them into the amber-lit room, which was fully furnished by upper-class decor. Even the doors were lined with golden carvings of snakes. Once you have finished with your work on my associate, I'll have you stay in here with us instead of some drab tent. We already have a place prepared, Zenon said as his arm outstretched to a closed wooden door in the far corner of the hall. Von Ratha politely nodded. This seemed to please him before he turned and beckoned her to continue down the room. As space narrowed, the light seemed to thin, and the zealot's armor clanked as they followed closely behind her. Fear began billowing in her chest, but she maintained her calm aura before Zenon stopped once more before a wooden door and clicked it open. His guards entered the dim room first. Zenon looked back at her and motioned for her to enter with them. I promise it'll only take a moment for a checkup, please, he said as his thoughts were completely ridden behind his thick forehead. Von Ratha straightened her back and slowly entered another pleasantly decorated chamber, but this one was much smaller, and a bed sat in the corner with a moving mound wrapped under the blankets. My associate has fallen ill, and we cannot say what the cause might be. Zenin's voice spoke from behind. She heard the clanking armor enter the room as well. I can only remove infections and seal wounds, mend bones, but little else, she said as she glanced back at him and 5 zealots. Zenin's mouth thinned, and a small escaped through his nose. He nodded at one of the guards who walked over to the sleeping figure, rousing him in bed. A violent cough emanated from him as the blankets fell away from a pair of arms, followed by a torso sitting upright in the mattress. Von Ratha's heart felt like it stopped beating, and a high-pitched ringing flew through her mind as she looked up upon Ghoul's face. "Is this the one?" Zenin said. His voice was like a loud bell in the silent room. Ghoul nodded with a twisted grin. "That's her face." The zealots leapt on her in one breath. Their cold gauntlets gripped around her frail wrists and neck. She unleashed her psionics in every direction, slowing their pursuit, but her power was too drained to do little else. Von Ratha swung her leg up and bashed her foot against one of the serpent heads, forcing them back, but the others already had a good grip around her waist and legs. She screeched as she pushed another guard against the wall with her energy, but every use made her more exhausted. With one arm free, she reached out to Ghoul, who was now standing on the bed with his back to the wall, and began sucking out his life force. Her palms switched from scarlet light to a deep violet and to black shades as she pulled the former tavern tender's life from him. Ghoul's body contorted and collapsed in a heap on the blankets as she drank deep of his energy. But it was not enough to overwhelm all of them. "Pin her down!" Zenin called. The zealots did as commanded, and she felt her body tumble onto the polished stone. Zenin's large form rushed over to her as his thick fingers grabbed at her scalp, but he was going for a deep scan. "Who are you?" his greasy lips whispered. Von Ratha pushed Zenin's hand back, but his other hand clamped around her temples, sending her into a dark passage of her mind. Though her body stilled, her mind fought Zenin from pulling every shred of her being. Her time in Jiria, her exile from the city, the earning of her name, the Black Blade, her love for Nalix, the trial of the sands, and her life in the academy. He saw it all. She screamed as her mind felt it tore into pieces, but her mouth was silent. Zenin's eyes widened with glee as he pushed off. His breath was raspy as he was helped by one of his guards. She tried commanding her muscles to rise, to continue the struggle, to run away and hop on the convoy, but her body ignored her demands. Von Ratha lay there with several zealots still lying on her arms and legs as she watched Zenin turn around and throw a viper's smile. For a moment, she thought it was Matron Eos's. "I never thought I'd see you again, Von Ratha." Blood rushed back into her numbing arms and legs as the guards lifted her limp form from the cold floor and dragged her into the main chamber. Her mind was torn and unable to tell between the past and present. She could only watch the other guards pull Ghoul's lifeless form out of bed, and Zenin standing wearing his revolting grin. The guards kicked open the wooden door that Zenin pointed to earlier, and tossed her inside the cold, windowless room, barren of any furniture. Von Ratha turned to her side to see the zealot taking up most of the door space before slamming it shut. A loud thump of heavy metal bashed against the door, locking it from the outside, and a faint murmur of voices beyond. At least in this cell, she could hear the world outside. She could still hear the world outside. Hey! Hey, Sting, how are ya? Cigarette time. We need to get you a literary agent. Hey, Aerodo, how's it going? I would love to have one. But, you know, it's just, they're so goddamn difficult to, like, fucking publishing houses. You know what? I can actually go into a bit of a rant about publishing houses. Like, alright. So, self-publishing was not actually the first choice. Believe it or not. And I have to say, yeah, I was looking around for a bunch of places to publish, and you know, like looking up the criteria and everything. And unfortunately, I'll keep reading. Don't worry. Jeez, Clobber. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So the publishing houses. It's a very, very competitive market. Like they, or like a lot of them get overwhelmed, like bombed, absolutely bombed with manuscripts, like thousands of manuscripts a year. And they only publish like barely, like under five books a year. So because they have to spend a lot of money in order to produce a novel, because they have to hire editors, they have to hire a marketing team, all that sort of stuff. Now, the only issue in the good old days, like, you know, like it was still tricky. It was still very tricky to actually get a publishing deal. But nowadays, a lot of publishing houses take like 90% of the earnings. 90% is even generous. Like the actual author gets like a small percentage, like a few bucks out of every novel sold. It's absolutely ridiculous. But also, a lot of publishing houses nowadays actually require the author to be somewhat known, and to also like have a little bit of a following on social media. Plus, they have to have a comprehensive marketing strategy that they can provide along with a manuscript. So it would make their marketing like, the only thing that really like publishing houses can do is they put their little stamp of like, yeah, this book was published by this publishing house, and they take 90% of the royalties. I mean, and also, also they they also provided like an editing team, and you know, illustrations and graphic designers and what have you. But I already do my own drawings, and that's actually another thing. I did all my own drawings for my book, all of them. But apparently publishing houses won't accept the author's own illustrations. They actually would rather get somebody else to do it. How fucked up is that? It's like, I was mad, yo. I'm mad. So, yeah. It's ridiculous. Oh yeah, I do have. I have like I've got a shitload of breeds. I've got a shitload of breed. I am swimming in the breeds. You know, I'm at 400. It's weird. I'm at 400. Like I'm like, why? Why do I have so many? It's ridiculous. I'm really glad that the cigarette's taking ages for me to smoke, because frankly, I need to calm down on the cigarettes. I've been smoking a lot lately. The big publishing houses are dinosaurs. For my own vanity, I would want to be published by one, but they're going the way of the dodo. Well, yeah, that's kind of like also another reason why their criteria is getting more narrow and narrow. Like, why it's becoming harder to be published by these houses, because they are competing with self-published authors. But the thing is, it wouldn't be that of a, like, they kind of fuck themselves over in a way. Like, you know, a lot of people who want to have their work published, you know, if there's a will, there's a way, right? But if they kept denying a lot of people like to publish their own work, and I have seen some goddamn atrocious novels being published by fairly well-respected houses. It's like what the hell? Like, how did you think this was a good idea? It's not even. It's a shit story. It's terrible. And like I don't know, like, but it's all about money, you know. It's, you know how it is, you know. It's about Roscoe. This book, the book that I wrote, is about reincarnation. So it's basically one soul reincarnating a couple of different times in a couple of different lives. Spoiler alert: the main character does die, as is kind of the way with reincarnation. You kind of have to die to be reincarnated again, you know. Last I heard. So there you go. Oh shit! Man, I ashed in my shoe. Hang on, hold on. I'm a mess today. Seriously, I'm a goddamn mess. Oh, and I also have some wine here from the other, like last time. I'm gonna drink that. I'm gonna do it. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good. Okay. One more sip. Yo, y'all, do you like my rosary beads? Like, I made it. I actually made this thing. Well, Omega, that's the thing. Only shitty teen drama books are worth to be published because they make the most money. It's so stupid. I like look, if people like that stuff, that's fantastic. I don't want to be that person that like shits on other people's interest. You know, like if it's like if they enjoy it, that's cool. But they don't give any like they don't give a lot of other people opportunity. You know, that's what really disappoints me. And it's like, you know, like I try really hard to you know be like, hey, you should publish my stuff because I think I'm really good at what I do. Well, you know, no one ever told me I was bad, so I don't like. Oh, actually, no, that's a lie. I had a few people tell me I'm a really shit writer over the years, but they weren't wrong when they told me that because I actually was a very, you know, like. When I was 5, I couldn't string a fucking sentence. I still can't. Like, every sentence is riddled with grammatical errors, so it's not, you know. The shorter the sentence, the better it is, you know. Anyway, let's continue. So we have, okay. Meditation was useless. Von Ratha's mind was still scrambled by Zenin's deep scan. She couldn't hold her focus long enough to enter a state of mind stillness that one aims to achieve in meditation. Voices called beyond the thick door moments before her dark cell was flooded by the morning sun. She instinctively shielded her eyes from the sudden barrage of light before focusing on a figure in metal scales and a wide snake's helmet. A groan escaped her throat as a zealot entered, followed by another in the chamber. She wasn't up for another fight or scan, but they never fight fairly. Their cold gauntlets grasped her sore shoulders, holding her in place while the other guard placed a tight black sack over her head. She could still suck in air through the material. She realized it was just cloth, but it had an odor of spit and faint hints of sick inside. This is the worst way to suffocate someone, she whispered, but the zealots kept their silence as they hauled her from the door. Her feet scraped against the warm floor as the guards held her close to their armored chests. She heard Zenin's booming voice calling from outside, followed by a moan of the crowd. Another door opened, and she sensed her body bathing in the warmth. The crowd began hissing at her entrance. Von Ratha sensed 1,000 thoughts piercing in her mind, all loaded with rage and hate. Being in their presence alone was enough for her to desire to return to the dark cell. One of the zealots kicked her leg down, forcing her knees to graze against the sandy floor. As promised, citizens of Nigeria, the one who had caused us great misfortune since our arrival to the Barrier Hills, Zenin called. She felt a zealot grab the scruff of the revolting sack and yank her from her head. Her eyes once again were bombarded by the powerful sun as her vision focused on a large group of people surrounding her. Gasps and outraged shouts were all that were heard by the horde. She sensed a great wave of betrayal emanating from them. Their trusted member of the collective, their healer, was the cause of their misery. Zenin chuckled before continuing. I trust you desire nothing more than to tear their former black blade to pieces. Some of you may even want her on your dinner plate. She's too skinny for me, a male called from the crowd, followed by some laughter. Not to worry, my people. No, worry not, my people. You will get your stomachs filled with the food and with revenge when the time comes. However, I ask you to conserve your strength and avoid making direct contact with the prisoner until execution, he said. Von Ratha looked up at Zenin, who stood in the narrow balcony. His eyes were wild with joy as the town erupted with satisfied roars. She quickly scanned the crowd. It didn't take long for her to spot Khan's stone face among them. His eyes were filled with pure hatred. She tried to send an apologetic look, but the zealots picked her up and took her to a pole where the banner of the twins once hung. They forced her arms up and wrapped chains around her wrists, locking them in place as they did with her ankles. It didn't take long for a rock to meet her cheek, followed by another striking in her belly. She looked around, trying to siphon as much energy from their rage to escape, but the stones continued arriving. Several members tried charging in to get a punch or a kick, but were warded off by the guards. Zenin's laughter echoed through the valley as the crowd hurled abuse and pieces of metal at her body. One bit even struck her in the lip, opening it up. A large, lanky figure emerged from the group. Khan pushed through with a fistful of stones. His eyes locked onto hers. Monster, he threw the first one, striking her in the temple. Khan, please, she called. Killer, another hitting her jaw. I had no choice. Butcher, a sizable pebble slammed in her elbow. She heard a crack inside her bone, but the pain was held at bay as her body grew numb. I was just a tool, just like all of you are, she screamed. Several members of the group even jumped back. Damn the food, I want revenge, rip her head off, Khan screeched before charging in, followed by several people behind him. The zealot side blades burst from their gauntlets and started slashing through the horde, but they were overwhelmed by their numbers. Von Ratha opened her hands and sucked in all the life force, bleeding from the chaos. Despite physical injuries, her body was rejuvenating and growing stronger with each second. She didn't even care when they tore her from the banner pole and swarmed around her like insects. Damn you all, she whispered before a red aura enveloped her body and melt the bondages from her wrists and ankles. She threw her arms out. A wave threw the group back as she felt her feet leave the dirt. Scarlet light bent around several heads, and with a flick of her wrist, the necks cracked. Even the guards abandoned keeping the peace had charged at her. But they were met with several long-sized spikes that punctured through their chest plates as if they were gelatin. Laughter erupted from Vanartha. She showered in the carnage with every slay, revitalizing her tired bones. The flailing wretches tried running, but her pull was too strong for their legs. This is what true power felt like, she thought. But the fun didn't last long. She saw his face again. Khan stood before a few terrified people. His long arms were shielding them from her, and his teary eyes were wide in terror and confusion. Wait! I am a monster. She closed her eyes and clapped her hands together. Warm liquid sprayed her arms and cheeks. She looked to see that Khan and those he defended were little more than smears on the sand. Vanratha smiled as she stared at her hands. She was now surrounded by piles of people. None of them survived, except one. She turned to an empty balcony, seeing the building door swinging open. She lifted herself to eye level to find Zenin huddled behind a velvet lounge chair. With her arms out, she gripped onto his leg and began dragging his plump form across the floor. No, he called as his hands desperately tried clinging onto the chair's metallic legs, but they fell through his fingers. Yes, she hissed, dragging him closer. He tumbled over the balcony railings as his legs dangled over the drop, still clinging to the handrails. It'll only be a moment, Zenin, she said before releasing him from her telekinetic grip. His weight too heavy for his hands pulled him to the ground with a lovely crunch. Von Ratha glided to the floor, feet away from Zenin where he tried to crawl away. Pathetic. Her foot clocked back, and she swung it with all her might into his diaphragm. A howl of pain flew from his mouth, followed by raspy coughs. How easy it was to halt the mighty Gyrian expanse with a simple push. She grabbed the collar of his jeweled cape and pulled him up. A mix of blood and saliva dribbled down his lips, and his pained eyes staring back. Go back and tell them what happened here. Tell them they failed again, she whispered before kicking his rump out of the valley. Zenin collapsed as dust clouds formed around him, and without a glance, he scrambled to his feet and waddled out of the barrier hills. His raspy breath drew with each step, losing speed under the beating hot suns, until his dark figure was lost under the shaky waves of the horizon. The desert will take him. Alone in the dead valley, Von Ratha was once again doomed to a life of solitude, but now of her own making. She hauled all the corpses from the center and plastered them around the canyons as macabre decor for her new home, sealing their torsos with bent metals or stuffing them in the nooks of the canyons, displaying them for the carrion eaters. She telekinetically lifted and hung every commoner, slave, or zealot of New Gyria. Another piece of compassion broke away as from her heart and fell into the void. She skipped up the sides of the high canyons, overlooking the empty town. The convoy will return to nothing and no one. She scanned over the braziers that will never burn again, the tents that will never be slept in, and the barren frames of the buildings, all waiting to be swallowed by the sands, following the ancient settlement that came before. Von Ratha pulled the hood of her black robe over her scalp and washed her hands of her people. We're up to chapter 12! Isn't this exciting, guys? Oh, thank you, Erodo. If you're gonna continue being this nice to me, I'm gonna send you some breeds of marriage proposals. Let me tell you. Hey, Scarlett, how are ya? Hey, Ragefield Virgin, how's it going? 12 supposed to be 13. Scarlett, I promise there is actually a chapter 13 in here. It's called Thing 13. I'm kidding. It's not. It's not. All right. Okay. So, yeah. Look, I have. I'm not terribly thrilled by this particular part. Look, I really appreciate that you guys like it. That means the world to me. It really does. It's just after, because I wrote this thing years ago, and I kind of like, I can see where all the errors are, and I can, you know, I can spot them, and I'm like, ooh, you know. So it's one of those things where I'm kind of like, oh man, it's a little bit cringy. There's a few parts that were a little bit cringy for me, I have to say. Like, it kind of like, it really quickly turned into like revenge porn, you know, very quickly. Like, you know, she just goes into OP mode and be like, let's just start blasting, you know. I just went to the movies to see Godzilla and Mama Gwen. She's a film star. Oh my god, and she didn't even give Lorne any kind of like stardom or anything like that. That's so disappointing. Oh, I mean, I suppose stardom runs in the family, I guess, for them, for the Armstrongs. Wait, why doesn't Lorne like people calling her Mama Gwen? Like, I don't get that. If anyone can explain. Someone who is more attuned with this than I, please explain. I don't understand. Hey SJ, how's it going? We are the worst critics. Everything except me. Well, we are our own worst critics except me. Everything I do is fantastic. Yes, that's facts. Fat facts right there, clubs. Exactly. So I drank 20 beers last night and I didn't get Lorne drunk. What would happen if somebody drank like 20 cups of coffee in a day? Heart palpitations? I used to get heart palpitations back in the day. Oh my god, my pants! He's being absolutely obliterated. Fucking hell. Yeah, like there's some wild. Yeah, you absolutely being wrecked in the chat. Oh my word, this is some bullying shit now. We don't bully people in the chat unless, of course, they're Mike Penis. But I mean, you know, it's just like it. Look, just make sure you only bully Mike Penis. That's all we have. That's all there is. You know. Yeah, you and SJ were drinking together. It was quality time. Were you on the phone with each other for 12 hours and, you know, screaming and accusing each other for talking to the fucking doctor? It's some quality ass time right there. It's good. I'm glad. I mean, like, good luck, you know. Don't get recorded, you know. Don't get posted on the internet. Oh, don't get posted on the fucking internet. Alright. Okay. Actually, you know what? A sip of water. A sip of water, you know? Ugh. Okay. I'll wait for you. Director's commentary video on your book. A director's commentary. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna I'm gonna make a stream where I review this stream and be like, oh, when I said this is exactly what I was thinking, what I was feeling, you know. So it's gonna be great. All right. What? Good. Ah, there we go. Chapter 12. Zolrin's army. Howling winds swept along the million-year-old canyons where Von Ratha spent her life in an unwilling solitude. Days, months, years, and decades had passed since her exile from home and the destruction of the New Geria colony. Those days were burned in her memory, and she could still clearly see those she brought into her own suffering. At every waking moment, she practiced her telekinetic gifts while mastering to siphon life force from the creatures that strayed too close to her domain. Each creature's agony was only a fraction to her own. Slowly, Von Ratha's hatred ate away at her sanity, like a snake swallowing its helpless prey into a pit of darkness forever. She was little more than a beast. She even forgot her own name. In the dark safety of her cave, Von Ratha didn't sleep to regain her strength. Her meditations allowed her psionic senses to perceive greater grounds around the barrier hills, once believed by Gerian scholars to be void of life. She discovered many monsters that Gerians would cower from, but she was the apex predator of them all. Until one day. Her advanced senses picked up on mines far across the great body of water where the canyons ended. Bronze-colored water-floating structures drifted across the blue surfaces in the hundreds, each manned by a hundred warriors in copper armor, wielding bizarre weapons beyond anything she had ever known, and directly above them was a large structure hovering in the air. Von Ratha's eyes shot open. Her meditation was broken by this new revelation. Her dirty black-robed body was already in motion out of her dark cave to see this fleet with her physical eyes. The smell of water slammed her nose as her head peered out to the blue horizon. She tossed back her hood that obscured her vision. She felt her bare scalp and partially rubbed her gray skin, almost scratching it with her long claws. Her navy mane had fallen out many years ago. She had forgotten when, but her sense of vanity was replaced by her ability to disintegrate mountains with her psychic power. This was a satisfying trade-off. The heavy floating structures traveled fast on the waters than she had thought possible. She levitated down over the pile of boulders to the shores to await the fleet. She was significantly lighter since she began levitating, not only because her power had increased, but her body had shrunk into a hideous, emaciated form of its former self. Von Ratha touched her gaunt face, remembering her cheeks to be full and round, but were nothing more than skin wrapped tight around the bone. Her ribs protruded from the sides of her robes. Her hip bones began piercing themselves through the skin, and her limbs were like long dead tree branches. A monster. Her bare feet touched the wet sands. Her psychic aura pulsated red, preparing herself for a potential challenge. They couldn't prepare themselves enough for what she was about to unleash on them. She began raising her arms until a telepathic message forced its way into her mind, interrupting her attack. "Calm yourself, stranger," a female's voice echoed in her mind. Von Ratha's heart almost leapt from her throat. A long silent part of her danced in her consciousness at the thought of sensing the first person after many decades alone. But this was swept away as quickly as it came. The water structures halted. Von Ratha watched dozens of figures lowering themselves on smaller floating plates that swam closer to the shores. The shoulder-high female in a shiny copper suit jumped into the shallow waters along with a squad of similarly dressed shoulders, armed with exotic weapons draped over their shoulders. "Do you speak with your voice?" the muscular female said. Her face was pointed with elegant black eyebrows slanted up to her hairline. Her ears pointed towards the sky. Her eyes had small yellow pupils with whites around, and her black hair was gathered in a perfect topknot with small strands of hair hanging above her forehead. And she had 5 fingers on each hand, a rather discerning appearance. Von Ratha thought. She held herself as someone taller than her true height, but This was fading in Von Ratha's deathly presence. She glared at this female who was becoming uncomfortable with the situation. Good, she thought. She stood her ground. Her sharp lips were crunched in a smirk. In a flash, Von Ratha's mind was filled with strange written symbols and foreign words. Her brain felt like it had been tattooed with a complete dictionary. The disorientation lasted moments before the alien female spoke. I am called Irulan, Lieutenant. I don't give a damn. Von hadn't used her voice in decades. It was as raspy as dry bones that were scraping against each other. Irulan stepped back. Her copper-masked soldiers muscled forward around their leader. Von Ratha smiled at this. Irulan's chest puffed up. We came from across the wide seas in search of new lands to colonize in the name of our Faraline Empire and the glorious Emperor. Do you see these large hills behind me? They don't give a damn. The water you stand in, it doesn't give a damn. The wind that blew on these shores for eons, it doesn't give a damn. We are an armada. You should give a damn, Irulan said, pushing her shoulders back. Should I? What can your armada do to this ancient land that this ancient land hasn't already seen? Von chuckled. This place hasn't been destroyed yet. Irulan's purple, plump lips smiled. Destroyed by a few warriors in fancy dress. Von Ratha said as her gaunt face forced a toothy grin. Irulan waved her hand to her shoulders, and the first started walking towards Von Ratha with his weapons pointed directly to her head. Let me show you what I can do, she said as Von Ratha unleashed a torrent of energy orbs slamming into the chests and heads of Irulan's people. Irulan jumped back. She watched with her mouth hanging open, agape as her seasoned soldiers fell into the sands to a mad hag in black dress. Each red blast that shot from Von Ratha's hands littered the shores with more bodies. Each life that was taken from her attack gave her more power to continue. She hadn't eaten food in decades, but the life she consumed made Von Ratha delirious with joy, almost drunk. She sensed more soldiers arrive from the ships. They opened fire with their weapons on Von Ratha's glowing red body. With a swift motion of her arms, she erected an energy shield around herself to prevent the weapons from being discharged from striking her down. The pressure of their force began straining her focus on the psychic barrier, and the shrieks escaped her throat as her protection field became smaller. But this was not her time to die. Wait! Stop! Everyone stop! Irulan shouted. She shot her arms up in the air and threw herself in front of Von Ratha. Oh, come now, Irulan. Is this all that your armada can muster? You can't even defeat an old female. Von shot another grin towards her. It doesn't have to be this way. You are obviously a powerful adversary, Irulan began. She quickly signed to her soldiers to cease firing. Fortunately for them, they obeyed. Von Ratha retracted her shield, and her red psionic aura dimmed, now emanating just above her skin. Well observed. Her jaw locked tight as she spoke. What's your name, stranger? Irulan asked, rubbing her chin nervously. A shadow slowly rolled over the shores. Von Ratha looked up to see an air palace hanging above all their heads. In one of the large glassy windows, several figures dressed similarly as Irulan stood watching the action below. One male, the tallest of them all, wore a sharp golden suit that represented his authority. His squared face was flat and emotionless, but there was a terrifying familiarity to it. Irulan's body went rigid. Her eyes rolled back, and she sealed them with her lids. Von Ratha watched with some curiosity at this private psychic exchange. She couldn't be bothered trying to listen in on their conversation. This was too much fun. Irulan's mouth suddenly smiled. My emperor would like to invite you to his flagship for a meeting. Tell your emperor that many more of his soldiers will die by my hand before any of that happens. Go back to wherever you creatures came from, Von said with a wave of her bony hand. No, the emperor was invited here, Irulan said. Von Ratha's thin lips bared sharp and broken teeth to the figure above her. Her attention turned to two shiny copper discs that gently floated down to Von Ratha and Irulan's feet. She stepped onto the disc. Yes, many, many years ago. Yes, many, many years ago, Emperor Zolwyn was summoned here. Alright, cigarette time. Hey, y'all! Mike Pence, look, Pence, listen, I like you, mate. I really do. Ah, shit. But, frankly, you know, you still haven't changed your name to Mike Penis, so... Fucking clobbering time. Oh, goodness. Sting, Eidolon like from Dune. Apparently I heard that was the name from Dune, but I don't, like, I haven't read, like, I read the first half of the novel when I was like 16, of the first book. I don't actually remember a lot of it, and I thought I came up with that name, honestly. Apparently that's actually a name from there. I didn't know. Like, I only found out like many years after, and I was like, oh, shit, okay. My bad. I was like, this sounds like a good name, you know. So, yes. Yeah. I'm seeing some major bullying here on my chat. Some really mean things are happening. Yeah, it's not good. It's not snort. All right, okay. Let's keep going. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Like no, it's mine. It's my thing. It's my thing. So, let's continue. Von Ratha stood in the center of 24 large guards surrounding them in a large bronze hall of Zolan's flagship. Her eyes darted between every face in the chamber. Their stony stares were affixed to her. She could sense quiet communication among them, which she was adamantly unwelcome to. The tallest and ornately dressed male stood several feet from her, whereas Von Ratha could feel a hidden hesitation from every creature in this room. This male was utterly fearless in her presence. Zolrin, the god in form, I heard a lot about you, she said as her lips brushed against her lower lip. A faint scent of blood dotted on her tongue when the floating palace shifted beneath her feet as a strong winds blew outside. I suspected word would spread about my existence once your people and mine had touched minds, he said. He kept his eye on a silvery pad in his hand as his fingers tapped on the surface. What have you heard? Just a few lowly scrubs would whisper to each other about on dirty streets. I wouldn't know the details, she said. Her eyes were locked on him while she tongued her wounded lip. You're a lot smaller than I imagined. He gently placed the pad on the near surface. Slight humor danced in his eyes before turning towards her. Interesting. Now, what are we to call you, unless you prefer to be called stranger? Zolan's voice was deep, smooth, and extremely self-assured. Not even the winds here know my name, she said as her head lowered. Zolan glanced up from the pad and then handed it to Eidolon, who stood attentive by his side. Zolan exhaled with slight amusement showing on his middle-aged face. His salt and pepper hair shined under the light. His eyes were like Eidolon's, but their irises were flat, red, and oddly hypnotic. His shoulders and neck made Zolan appear taller, but his height matched Von Ratha's. Poetic, but not very informative. In my culture, not introducing yourself is considered very rude, he said. Introductions are just as important to Jirians, but in my culture, your master can only introduce you to another, like an owner showing off his pet. Von Ratha's lips curled into disgust. I see. Among the Fadalese, such concepts are alien to us. We are all free to talk to whomever, make mistakes, and live our lives. Wherever we go, we bring those ideas to all primitive cultures. Zolan gave a small glance to Eidolon. Spare me your speech, Emperor. If there was a lick of truth in your mouth, then why bring an armed fleet? I've known many people like you, Zolrin. Your words charm the naive ear, but then inject the venom in their weak veins, Von Ratha said. She sensed that there were many more eyes on her than that were visible. They even had weapons aimed at her head and torso. Her body involuntarily twitched as each mind thought of her. She ran on pure instinct. Had the inner beast fully taken over, she wondered. Zolrin gave an assured smile to her. I will speak plainly with you, then. Understand where we come from, stranger. The Fadalese are conquerors and have been for generations. With a flick of his hand, Zolrin's guards scattered back to the walls of the flagship, but Von Ratha could still feel weapons at her back. He and Idolan turned their backs. Zolrin gestured to Von Ratha to follow down to the workstation with moving light figures. The figures reached out with their arms to Von Ratha and vanished into non-existence. What makes you certain we have such a thing? She said. Whoa, sorry. I skipped a step there. I'm sorry. Like all emperors before me, they have a vision of a new land to take for the empire. I had mine. It showed a land from across the sea that held a great font of power. Even now, I can almost smell it, he said. What makes you certain that we have such a thing? She said. A corner of Zolan's lip curled as he looked at her shimmering hands and glowing red orbs. I am certain. Its potency cannot be denied, and I must find it. It sounds like you need a guide, Zolrin, she said, crossing her arms. Your Highness, I don't believe it would be wise to, Eidolon whispered. Quiet, Lieutenant. Zolrin didn't even look to his subordinate and continued gazing at Von Ratha. Jiria is dead to me, as I am to it. I won't serve. Von spat. You won't be. Consider this alliance could be a service to you. Consider this alliance could be a service to you. Consider this alliance could be a service to you, and who knows, maybe your people might do the same for you this time. Zolan's slender lips turned into a smile, but Eidolon didn't share her leader's optimism. Her forehead wrinkled as she looked to the evil creature before her. Von Ratha smiled at her disgust. Jiria is too great for even me to overcome. Unless you had a strong army behind you, Zolrin said. I made a promise to my enemies that I will return to Jiria one day, but I didn't expect it would be in a floating palace. Von Ratha grinned. A wise choice. His smile widened. He waved to some of his soldiers and walked to prepare his invasion, leaving Von Ratha and Eidolon in the workstation. Eidolon cleared her throat. Tell us what we should be expecting, what sort of technology Jirians possess, and any military information you might know of. Oh, and please don't tell me you were some clueless commoner. A raspy laugh escaped Von Ratha's thin throat. They'll fall like little spiders under your weapons. They won't have a chance. Can you elaborate, or are you just going to talk in riddles? She said, raising her brow. I can do better than that. I can show you where Jirians keep their power, Von said. In blinding speed, Von Ratha seized Eidolon's mouth with one hand and gripped her top knot with the other, forcing her down and almost losing her balance. Eidolon's eyes widened in fear. Her guttural cries barely escaped through Von Ratha's long bony fingers, making her grin grow. She could hear the orders being shouted from across the ship's hulls. Dozens of soldiers surrounded the two, and Von Ratha could almost feel the coldness of their armor through her dry skin. This didn't bother her. It was only a spectacle. Her fiery orbs locked to Eidolon's, and then unleashed a torrent of everything she had learned and all she knew in one solid stream of psychic energy straight into Eidolon's resisting mind. Von Ratha felt the Fadalese female gripping onto one of her forearms as a psychic stream flowed, trying desperately to slap, punch, and claw her thin nails onto the Jirian's skin. She fought her physically and mentally, but Von Ratha was still too strong. Eidolon's eyes rolled into her forehead. Her muffled screams quietened and she began shaking. She tried calling out to Zolrin or one of the soldiers to attack, but Zolrin forbade anyone from interfering and just watched the show. Von Ratha's toothy grin spread across her narrow face, baring her sharp teeth as she looked to Eidolon's terrified face. Then something happened Von Ratha didn't expect. Eidolon began drawing deeper memories from her mind. Memories of the Black Walls, memories of Oracle Chars, memories of Ancient Eos, memories of the Academy, memories of her stolen youth, and memories memories of the trials with Nalix. Maddening fury broke von Ratha's stream. She released her grip on Eidolon, causing her to fall on the cold metal floor with a satisfying thud. Eidolon found her feet, her top knot now hanging loosely on the side of her frazzled hair. Beads of sweat soaked in her forehead, and her straight nose had a stream of crimson blood dripping to her lips. Von Ratha's emaciated body hunched. Her toothy grin was now a gaping maw. Her breaths were also short and filled with unbridled rage. A metallic taste welled in her mouth. Her blue blood dribbled down her chin, causing some of the soldiers to hesitate. Zolran glided over to his first lieutenant. Report. Eidolon attempted to straighten herself. Zolran put his 5-fingered hand on her shoulder. I have ascertained where the city is and their forces, but their source of power comes from somewhere else, something else. The actual plains, perhaps. So the myths were far from than just stories. We shall study this extensively once the city has been taken. What else have you learned? Zolran questioned. Eidolon wiped the blood from her lips without ever looking away from Von Ratha. Her people are not from this world. They are from another one entirely. Perhaps from one of the astral planes, which would make more of their sonics far superior to ours. But their civilization is little more than bows and arrows. Jeria's is all we ever knew. It has always been there, Von Ratha growled. I see. Zolran looked to Von Ratha wearing a dead expression. Do with the citizens what you will. But I want that fountain of power that your people possess. He swept away from the workstation, accompanied by his guards, leaving Von Ratha and Eidolon once more. The Emperor would have taken your head for that, Eidolon stammered. You're fortunate that he needs you for this campaign, and don't believe that your luck will remain. Von Ratha said nothing. She licked the blood from her lips and allowed the metallic taste to sit on her tongue. You're nothing like you were before. She looked down to Von Ratha's protruding ribcage. You are truly a monster, Von Ratha, Eidolon said, and in an instant she rushed out of the workstation. She hadn't heard her name spoken aloud in uncounted years, but no part of her felt even remotely close to the Jirian youngling that sat on the sill of the academy. That person had been dead for a long time. I was Von Ratha. Alright, we're up to chapter 13 right now. I want mod powers. I'm telling you, Mike Pets, it's a simple request. I don't know how more simple I can make it. You know, if you don't change your name to Mike Penis, there's no conversation. I'm afraid. Oh my goodness. Oh my god, I'm already feeling my throat already like getting tense, you know, like tightening up a bit. But yeah. What do you think? We have finally Zolran. Woo! Wait, no make Pence mod. Wait, what do you say? No, like, are you telling him he no mod? Yeah. Wait, hang on, hold on. So, wait, do you want me to make him mod, or you're saying no, make him a mod? A comma is required here, buddy. Mike Penis. Yeah, Mike Penis. Clobs is onto a thing. Exactly. I love how the chat is degenerating into caveman speak, and it's great, frankly, because like I'm reading this thing and I'm like, holy shit, the fucking errors in here. Huh. Okay. Make Pence no mod. Okay, I don't mod no Pence. Oh, mod Pence no. That would make more sense, frankly. So, there you go. Man, this song's going on for a long time. I really feel it, you know. Okay. It's like I'm trying to enjoy my cigarette. Yeah. I don't have to think about this, you know, bullying on the street. Like there's a lot of bullying on this chat right now. I will fly. Wait, hang on. Mike, can you fight her for me on the undercourt of Jake Paul versus Ashkren? I'm not sure what you mean, Rage-filled virgin. I'll fly you here, Melania, and marry you. That's how much I love it. I wish I was streaming with you right. Okay. You know. And what's my secret? Change your name, Mike Penis. I'm telling you, you're missing out. You're living a half-life, right? You know, in Harry Potter when they're like, if you drink unicorn's blood, you get a lot of power, but it's only a half-life. It's a cursed life. Mike Pence. If you continue not having your name changed to Mike Penis, you're living a half-life, a cursed life. It's like unicorn blood, you know? It makes sense. See the connections? Excellent. All right. Why are you rushing? I am rushing a lot, aren't I? All right. Let's continue this. Thing 13, or I should say, chapter 13. Home. The energetic barrier that kept Juria protected for countless ages was the first to fall by the Farley's armada. The sea ships, converted into plated land vehicles equipped with cannons and could hurl balls of fire against the barrier, now turned to blast the black walls. The airship loomed menacingly over the walls in the outskirts of the city, using terror as its weapon. High above, on the ship's wide balcony, Von Ratha gripped the copper railing, intently watching the carnage below. She quivered with devious delight as she watched Jirian civilians scream and scamper from the impending doom. They were like sinful ants rushing in circles from the boot that was about to crush their nest. Von Ratha soaked in their fear. Her sickly red aura bloomed with each wave of her victim's terror. But there was something more that she hadn't sensed in decades. Even on the outskirts of the wall, she felt waves of energies piercing through her skin, heating her flesh and exciting her mind. Her eyes drifted to the twinkling peak of the spire. The copper serpent's fangs glittered under the dual sun's rays, the oracle's little seat of power. She turned to Zolran and his sycophant pent, Idolan. Their attention was turned to the siege below. Unlike Von Ratha, they had kept their distance from the railing and from her. Isn't it wonderful, Zolran? Watching the destructive power of your machines lay waste to countless primitives you've conquered before, she said, taking a deep breath of the smoke caused by the blazing fires on the walls. We're here to bring up a civilization by cutting out the weeds for the flowers to bloom, not to murder for the sake of murder, fiend, Idolan snapped. She whirled her bald, grey head towards Idolan. She slightly flinched at Von Ratha's speed. So, you are a little more than glorified gardeners, then, Her clam-like mouth smiled, revealing her sharp, broken teeth. We bring chaos to order. We were called to come here, and now we lay claim to this land. Its residence and its fount of power for the Faralese Empire, Zolran calmly said. His face was stiff as stone, and his body stood tall and unmoving regardless of the rolling winds across the balcony. Keep telling yourselves that. We may do things for very different reasons, but regardless of what they are, people always die, Vaughn said, licking her top sharp teeth. A shockwave struck the belly of the airship, causing it to suddenly waver and tilt, making the three of them lose balance. Von Ratha's stomach pressed against the railing with her upper body hunched over, causing her to slide over the ground directly below her. Instinctively, her psionic power allowed her to levitate in the air, effortlessly, unlike her allies who were gathering themselves from the polished wooden floor. Idolan was the first to collect herself. She took Zolran's arm and hoisted him to his feet. Von Ratha almost laughed until she saw his eyes were closed and focused on the psychic transmission from his lieutenants. Your military seems to be significantly more powerful than you claim, Von Ratha. They're causing quite a bit of destruction to my ships, he said with his black brows furrowed. It's been decades since I was last here, Zolrin. Who knows how far the Girians have come to develop their power. They may even be a challenge for you. Von tilted her head back into a psychotic laugh. I have fronted greater enemies before, and now they are all under my rule. Zolrin looked toward the horizon with to the great spire in the center of the city. I want that fountain. Meet my soldiers below and show your people what they have created. Von Ratha's red eyes blazed with fury at Zolrin's words. Drea wasn't her home anymore. Her people had forsaken her decades ago and hoped that she would die in the deserts and be forgotten like all undesirables. Von Ratha levitated over the balcony railing and descended onto the battlefield. Grey smoke billowed around her torso, clouding her sight and filling her nose. A violet ball of energy shot through the smoke, whirling it away. It barely missed her. She opened her senses to seek for anything beyond the smoke. A group of Girian soldiers were in line formation, blasting violet energy balls from their hands toward the land ships. Armored Farley's footmen skipped across the black metallic rubble, unleashing a torrent of aqua lasers at the Girian soldiers who stood along the partially ruined walls. Von Ratha's skin tingled as the Girian soldiers struck by the lasers toppled over the ruins, falling to their deaths. The Fodderlees were relentless. Their vehicles drove over the piles of metal as their soldiers forced the Girians further back into the city. She finally landed her bony feet on the cracked soil. The soldiers watched in awe as her blinding aura shone in the desert, as her tattered black robes hung loosely around her body. Her bloody red eyes looked to the direction of the ruined walls, where the snake-helmed zealots disappeared behind the piles of debris and bodies. The Fodderlees continued moving their vehicles forward, crawling over the ruined walls like beetles over a dusty mound, while a copper-armored footman followed. They patted each other on the back while thrusting their ranged weapons in the air, for their enemies were already retreating from battle. But Von Ratha wasn't convinced. I sense an ambush. My soldiers must be immediately notified. Udolan's voice came through her telepathic mind. Before Von Ratha could respond, her gaze was caught far into the distance. Atop the spire, a twinkling azure spark grew until it released a beautiful stream of blue energy towards the ruined walls. The beam ripped across the city, electrifying the air and igniting the red trees into nightmarish torches. Psionic energy exploded from Von Ratha's mind and curled around, protecting her body in a scarlet sphere. She watched the beam disintegrate pieces of the wall and grounds, instantly vaporizing the Farley soldiers. Von Ratha had no time to consider the rush of death that she felt ripple through her body, as the blue beam struck her red barrier and nullified it on impact. Her feet left the ground and her body tumbled several steps behind onto the earth. She quickly regained her bearings and slapped away her tattered scarf from her face to watch the beam retract into a twinkle atop the spire. The beam touched smoking grounds, became cracked and blackened. There was a sizable crater etched in the land where Von Ratha's shield repelled the beam. Among the smoke, she saw charred corpses that were little more than dust, while others had smoke emanating from them. The Farley soldiers clambered over the mounds of rubble with their copper armors in flames, frantically running in any direction from the fire that was on their backs. Von Ratha sensed Udolan's emotions long before her thoughts came to mind. "We are pulling back. Return to the airship," she said. "Nonsense! I have waited too long. I have waited for too long for you to cower and skip back home," Von Ratha replied. "Our armada shall continue into Gyria. I have never witnessed that kind of power before. Truly, this will be my greatest contribution to the Empire." Zolrin's thoughts rolled into the commune. "Your Highness, that attack was potent enough to cut through the plating of our tanks and disintegrate most of our seasoned warriors. Another attack could destroy our flagship," Udolan begged. That one beam took all of the focus of Gyria's greatest psychics. They are now in no shape to resist their fates." Vaughn said before breaking the commune. She straightened her back as she pumped energy through her legs, strengthening her muscles. Her feet kicked off the ground, breaking it beneath her. As she dashed through the war zone, skipping over the metal piles and through the ruined black walls. To her surprise, there were no masses of zealots waiting for the far east beyond, only mounds of rubble, singed gardens, and small groups of warriors. She prepared herself to quash the zealots, but Zolrin's soldiers snipe them before she could close in. Stealing my kills, Vaughn whispered to Edelon, but was met with a mental image of a smirk. As she rushed through the burning trees, the spire grew larger. After several turns, she came to the bridge that separated the outer city from the inner, where most of the respected of society dwelled. She halted her charge and spat on the perfectly aligned, creamy stones until her eye turned to a shimmering barrier before the walkway. She reached out her hand to touch the veil and saw her aura getting pulled through. Clever, Von Rather thought. The oracles place an absorption shield around their spire that sucks the life force from uninvited guests. The nigh transparent wall was too great to leap over. Even levitation could prove deadly if there was no opening. Shots could be heard echoing in the distance. The Fadalese were pushing their way into the outer city. Edelon was close. Her senses spiked. Someone beyond the barrier aimed at her head and released a lance of energy towards her. Von Ratha immediately wrapped her form in shadow and slinked away from the zealots that continued firing at her. She darted over the bridge and behind an abandoned building that took several blasts from the zealots. Von Ratha returned to her visible body and instantly felt a sharp pain in her upper temple. Navy blood poured down from her brow and past her eyes. Its stench reminded her of the innards of the Boschkag. She wrapped her wound using her dead-looking hands, hoping to quicken the telekinetic healing process, but that seemed to worsen the pain. The streets were in disarray. Broken windows and doors torn from their hinges lay scattered on the pavements. Ripped clothes and scrolls danced in the warm winds that rolled through the bare city. This had been her doing, all of this. This grey city was the bare bones of the colorful neon lights that Von Ratha used to admire as a youngling. Now no younglings will ever see the neon lights of Jiria ever again. "Die, invader!" shouted a serpent-headed zealot. Von Ratha glanced around to see several snake-headed warriors surrounding her with their glowing hands ready to attack. "Never!" she roared, and with her free hand unleashed a red wave, forcing the warriors into the buildings along the streets. They fired back at Von Ratha, toppling her onto the pavement. Another warrior rushed over and stomped on her bare leg. She curled into a ball. Her red aura pulsated and released a crescent-shaped energy blade that cut into the warriors' shins. Their backs impacted the pavement, followed by their howls of pain that echoed through the streets. She heard a march of heavy metal boots on the stone floor. Edelon and her soldiers were close. Their copper armor glittered in the sun as they fired into the zealots. Von Ratha levitated to her feet and telekinetically hurled the warriors against the building wall. Flames burst forth from her palms, curling into a vortex towards her hapless victims. Their pleas of mercy and screams in pain were drowned out by the fire's roar and her wicked laughter. "That's enough, Von Ratha," Edelon shouted from behind. "As you command, Emperor Edelon." Vaughn waved her arms, and the flames vanished from her hands and in the air. "Thought you would have appreciated me saving you." She looked to where the zealots once stood. In their places were patches of dust on the street. "We have taken the outer city and obliterated most of the Algerian forces, but we hardly observed any civilians around," she said. "Good spotting." Von Ratha rubbed her pointy chin. "Also, the oracles placed an absorption shield around the inner city, which will suck the life force from us if we get too near. The spire's the only place that's protected. The civilians must have been evacuated there," Edelon said as her eyes darted around the pulsating dome. "The absorption shield will get stronger if you throw all of our fire at it. I might be able to pull it down over several days or wait when the oracles come to blast us again." Vaughn said, "We're not risking it. Could the survivors be heading into the inner city from some access point, like an underground tunnel?" she said, tugging on at her sweat-stained collar. You are not as foolish as you appear, Irulan. Von Ratha's blood-soaked face smiled at Irulan's scowl. Okay, so I'm just halfway. Hang on, let me just check. Okay, that's alright. Alright, I'm gonna go like quickly to the bathroom. Hey April, how's it going? Hey SCNJ Dev. Yes. If hell exists, I'm going there. I'm sure of it. Wait. Judge me all you want. God hates me as much as my parents do. I'm used to it. Yeah. Well, you know. I mean, look. Everyone does, like, nobody likes me as well, so I understand your pain, April. Like, nobody do like me either. All right, I'll be right back. Going to the loo. That's clubbering time. That's a little bit too much information, actually. Hey, Callie Slime Bucket Witch Lady. It's still, you know. Oh my God, Pants is out of control. Yeah, I know Pants is absolutely mad. Lorne Identity. Like, seriously, like you should have seen the amount of bullying there was in my stream just before. It was atrocious. My God, it was like dog piling onto my pants, on my penis. Hey, Betty, how are ya? Okay, no, seriously, I gotta. I'll be right back. 2 seconds. Hi. How's it going? Voices and stuff. My voice is starting to hurt. It's pretty great. Would recommend. Wait, why isn't this thing going? Okay, no, go. Start out. Okay. What, Joey? Clark was abducted from his stream. She did. Oh no. Oh no. She did. She did. Wait, who's dead? Who's dead? Wait, you don't just start talking about people being dead without involving me in the conversation, sirs. Alright, actually, you know what? Can I, like, roll a cigarette really quick? Damn. Yeah. My pipe's broken. Look, you wanna see something really, really sad? Hang on. Okay. Look at this. I'm gonna, you know what? That's it. I'm just, I'm asking for donations to help fund fund me to buy a new pipe, please. I need it, you know. I can't, you know. Wait, how much do pipes cost these days anyway? That one was $25. Yeah, okay, yeah. It's like, I don't know. Oh, Lord. Yeah. Terrible. Wait, hang on. Yeah, Joey, we're pretty sure he fell asleep. I tried calling him. Wait a minute. Oh, wait. Clark fell asleep during his stream? Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. I've actually thought about doing that like a couple times. You know, I like I want to actually have a stream like continue running, and then I just like, oh guys, I gotta take my sleep. I'm gonna take a nap now. Yeah. And then like I just like pull up a pillow and a blanket and just like sleep on the pavement right behind here. Actually, I've got a yoga mat there, so I can just sleep on that. It's not a problem. Okay. Your necrophiliac is gonna get you put another watch list. Excuse me. I'm not a necrophiliac anymore. So, oh, Clark. Yeah. Why does Clark never show up to my streams? Huh? I always show up to his. Fuck. You know. Disappointing. You know. F minus. Not even an A for effort. How long was he on before he fell asleep? Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I mean, could someone go check? Wait, there's an entire sleep stream genre on Twitch. You could be monetizing this. What? Oh my god, I didn't know. Wait, like, hang on. When are you telling me? Hang on. I'm sorry. You know what? Stop. You know what? Stop. We're gonna talk about this, and I'm not talking about this without some alcohol, because are you telling me that there are people who stream themselves while they're sleeping? Is that what we're saying? Is this what we're discussing? I'm a necrophiliac, I think. Actually, not really. I'm just asexual. Huh? Alright, you know, each their own, I guess. Wait a minute, they're not even closely related. What? What? I mean, not all asexuals are necrophiliacs. What? Wait, yeah, there's a bunch of Twitch streamers who do that. What? That's nuts. That's some crazy shit. That almost beggars belief. Oh man, that's gross. Oh well. But yeah. There you go. Dead boyfriends always give you the cold shoulder. Hang on. That's actually, you know, like that's pretty good. Hang on. Okay, so I've got some jokes here in regards to morticians, you know. Oh wait, where are they? Alright. Wait, where is it? There was a really good one I saw. If you want to pick up women, become a mortician. I heard girls drop dead over them. What is the difference between a politician and a mortician? A mortician waits until you're a mortician waits until after you're dead to fuck you. Okay, good. That's excellent. What happened when the mortician dropped the coffin? He made a grave mistake. Hang on. Say what you want about necrophiliac morticians, but at least they love to come into work. Hey Andy, how's it going? What do an electrician and a mortician have in common? They're both shocked when they touch a live one. What does a necrophiliac mortician do at the end of a long work day? He cracks open a cold one. Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm actually not sorry, but you know, someone has to be sorry for this. Oh, he passed out. Morticians only care about what's on the inside. Scarlet Ebony, I love you so much. Would you like marriage proposals and breeds? I can do both. Well, you know what, Scarlet Ebony? I will give you one breed pick per joke. How about that? And one marriage proposal. Please don't disturb my friend. He's dead tired. Well, I can't. I can't think of any off the top of my head right now. It'll come to me, you know. Oh my word! Oh my fucking word! Yeah. Ever see Commando? I have multiple times. That's my Christmas list movie. It's got nothing to do with Christmas. I know that film has absolutely zero to do with Christmas, but it does have a fantastic. That movie is it's just insane. Like it's beautiful. It's honestly it's a fantastic film. Like all the best one-liners. It's like. Hey Tommy, remember when I said that I was gonna kill you last? Yeah, you did, Butch. You did say that. I lied, and he drops him off the cliff. Where's Pence? Mike Pence. I lied. Okay, all right. Wait, what are we doing now? Oh yeah, we're doing the shit. I fucked my hair up. Hang on, hang on. I'll start reading in a sec. Let me just get my fucking hair sorted. Okay. Jeez, stop pressuring me. Okay. I let him go. I let him go. Brilliant. Okay. The caverns seemed to stretch into infinity. Some believed they could continue beyond the province and reach into dark hells. Daring younglings who entered the underground network would often challenge each other on who could go further. However, the winners wouldn't be seen again. Von Ratha was no stranger to these caverns. Even in the darkness, her keen senses could feel rock formations around with each tap of her foot. She crept along among the shadows in the drafting tunnels, searching for any survivors that she might follow. Her skin tingled from the slight tremors in the ground, as if several feet walked onto the stone. She opened her mind to sense a band of refugees in rugged robes, muttering and crying to themselves. She stalked them until they came about a large metal door that was molded in the shape of a snake's maw. The refugees stopped, and the doors unlocked its mechanism to raise the hatch. Von Ratha rushed over to the tail end of the group to appear as one of them. They walked through a familiar hall lined with guards on either side, watching closely at all the members of the band. Von Ratha kept her head low and her eyes closed. The hall led into the underground dungeons below the spire, where once she was kept in the sensory void chambers. Rage and hate heated her cheeks at the memory of that time, when Nala excited with the oracles and threw her away into the deserts. However, the multi-level dungeons transformed into a haven for Jirians seeking shelter from the Fadali's bombardment. Many commoners kept to their kin. Some lay on stretchers bleeding and dying, clinging to their weeping loved ones. And an explosion was heard high above the stone ceiling. Edeline was tempted to break through the barrier with her canyons. Younglings cried out to their parents, and people cowered against the dungeon walls. Those devils are trying to get in, a female voice whispered. Von Ratha's eye caught the figure that spoke. She stared at the female for a moment, but it felt like an eternity had passed. Her skin was a healthy pale with soft, smooth hands. Her belly was large and on the verge of birth. She was draped in gold and sunset orange robes hanging loosely around her shoulders and arms. Blythe, Von Ratha whispered. Another louder explosion rippled through the chamber, and some loose stone chips fell from the ceiling. Blythe turned out of sight and disappeared behind a dark pillar as Von Ratha ducked her head lower and hastily pursued. She followed Blythe down a corridor and watched her enter a separate room. Her telepathic and hearing prowess allowed her to hear Blythe talking to another. Her skin tingled when she realized there was another in the room with her, a great evil. They will overrun the city by nightfall. We need to begin evacuations now. The oracles won't allow them to enter the spire. The invaders will discover the power of the twins soon. A grating voice responded. We're all that's left. The others have escaped through the portal. Nalex would have seen to that. We need to get the rest through, and you too, Matroneos, Blythe said. Von Ratha felt her black heart trying to escape her throat. She tried to contain her foul excitement in case Blythe or Matron Eos sensed her presence. No, a little while longer. I need to see something through, Eos croaked. I will tell the people to continue their prayers, but if I sense the shield waning, we will move, with or without you, Matron, Blythe said as she reappeared down the hall. Von Ratha quickly hid among a small group of survivors to allow Blythe to pass. Matron Eos was only a few steps away from her, alone and vulnerable. I can smell you from there, the old crone said. Her nightmarish body was wrapped in blankets and pillows on a stone slab at the end of the room. Von Ratha was surprised to see this freakish creature still cling onto some form of life. Her eyes were now hollow dark sockets. Her nose was missing, and her lips shriveled away, revealing several sharp teeth. Does my appearance frighten you, Von? Were you expecting a challenge? Eos said with a hoarse cackle. I prayed to see you alive when I returned. For once my prayers were answered, Von said. I stayed just long enough for you to return home, daughter, she said when her eyeless head twitched to Von Ratha's direction. It'd be futile to alarm the gods. Everyone will be destroyed by the end of tonight. I just wanted you to be the first one to know that, and all memory of you and Jiria will be erased forever, Von said, so dramatic. Out of all my fledglings, you were the brightest, but my greatest shame. I trained you into something wonderful and cared for you after rescuing you from death, and you always fought me. I prayed for an answer for so long, Eos said. There might be an answer for you on the other side. Von's eyes burned with fury. Eos's chuckle was little more than a guttural cough and wheeze. I already have. And this was all in their plan. I should thank you. Von Ratha stiffened and clucked her head to the side. Why? Why did your gods see that I would destroy the city? You are bringing us home, she said. Then I won't keep you from them, Von whispered. Eos's lips curled back, exposing her torn gums even further. I love. Von Ratha placed her hand over Eos's chest, hoping sonic power would keep her alive just long enough until she could enact her revenge. Matron Eos moaned as Matron Eos's other hand swiped her former matron's face, spitting blood on the blankets. In an instant, Eos reached out and clung Von Ratha's face. Electricity shot through her skull from the matron's palm. Her thoughts scrambled and her focus broke. She ripped off the crone's hand from her face and staggered back. Her vision was blurred, and she even felt her stomach trying to crawl out of her throat. Hot blood dribbled down her chin as she collapsed under her weight. Brain shred, Von Ratha realized Eos had tried to liquefy her mind while inside her skull. She tried to climb to her feet with her last psionic rage. She lifted Matron Eos from her bed and with her hands ripped the witch in half. Von Ratha hadn't even noticed that her maddened screams caused a crowd to gather outside the room. Blythe pushed past the crowd and gasped at the gruesome scene. What have you done? She demanded. Von Ratha's eyes stung and blurred as her blue tears poured out. This was something she could not rejuvenate from on her own. Save me from the water again, Blythe. Blythe's face collapsed into shock. Her eyes widened and mouth agape. Von, I thought you were... Von Ratha rose her hand and a dark swirl appeared in her palm. Life energies of the crowd came from her. The life energies of the crowd came from their eyes and mouths as she drew them into their hands. Some attempted to run while others tried calling for the guards, but they all screamed as their life was sucked away. Blythe's face twisted in agony as she collapsed to the ground, gagging and trying to gulp down air while clutching her pregnant belly. Zealots burst through the carnage and were met with the same fate. Von Ratha felt her body rise off of the blood-soaked floor, rejuvenating as each person died. She glided out of the room into the death chamber, staring at their horrified and pained expressions permanently twisted on their familiar faces. Gazan's well-dressed body contorted and stiffened while gripping onto the tattered sleeve of a young slave. Male and female, elder and youngling, powerful and powerless, all died side by side at her hand. Death excited her. She lived from it, but she felt no pity or satisfaction from her work in the chamber. Their deaths tasted as sweet as dust. The lower chamber has been cleared. Ready yourselves, I will summon you through, she transmitted to Idolan and Zolrin. Von Ratha felt so powerful that she was drunk from it. The oracles couldn't stop her now. She slipped her fingers through the fabric of this realm and tore open a portal for the Fatalies to enter. Through the whirling purple energies of the portal, Eidolon and Zolran were the first to step into the spire, followed by a sizable elite squadron. Eidolon gasped in shock as she glanced around the chamber. Zolran's brow shot up his forehead while the squad scanned the room for any survivors. "You won't find any alive here," Vaughn said. "In all my years. Were these civilians? What did you do to them?" Eidolon said as her head glanced around the chamber. Von Ratha frowned and her aura dimmed. "What I had to do." Hey, that's thing one! How's it going? Wait. Thank you. I just thought about the line about dead tie. We're writing off dead jokes. Yeah, dead tie. Like, yeah, we all dead tie, you know. Can you give my eulogy? Yeah, I could. If you wanted me to. I mean, I don't know if I'm the right person to give a eulogy to. I'll just start making like the worst jokes ever. That's the thing. Oh man, I'm sorry, CJ and Dev. Like, yeah. Like, I try to like do the streams at a reasonable hour. You know what I mean? But yeah, are you writing Yagu for each? Wait. Hey, well, by the way, hi Kevin. Are we writing Yaguglias for each other? Wait, what? What? Yagu? I don't know, man. I don't fucking know. Okay. I'm gonna smoke for a bit. Alright, one sec. Oh, it's 2 a.m. I'm sorry. Oh, I have a thing early tomorrow morning. I'm not looking forward to it. I have a conference I've got to do tomorrow morning. It's at 8:30 in the morning. Who throws a goddamn conference at 8:30 in the fucking morning? Somebody from overseas, that's who. CJ Dev, you bought Lord's book? Oh my word. Oh my fucking word. Fact, Lord, yeah. It's eulogy, but fix it in a different way. Alright. Over my dead body, you're gonna have an autopsy, a scarlet. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna send you 2 breed pics and 2 marriage proposals. You know what I would like? I would like, you know, who was, I can't remember who it was, but someone mentioned like they would like to hire like a really bulky famous wrestler to announce their love for Lorne, like just like this big dude with like a massive beard and long hair and just saying like, "I love you, Lorne." That would be really cool. And like and like Lorne sees it and he freaks out, you know. Can we say like, oh my god, can you imagine like that would be the doctor or something like that, and they just tell him that that's actually the doctor that loves you, Lorne. Like he's no longer interested in Ramona anymore. He wants you, buddy. There's actually like a lot to love about Lorne, really. I mean, you know, in a depressed kind of way. I love the fact that, you know, he's not, you know, his life situation has absolutely no bearing or weight on mine, and you know, I'm glad that I'm learning so much from him. So there you go. That's what I love about him. And he's so stupid. He's so blissfully stupid. Like, I wish. And he's so confident as well. He's like confident in all of his skills. Like, I wish I had the same level of confidence as he does. Ashing all over me. Lucha La Raza has challenged Lorne to a Cornville 10-mile cage match. That's a big ass cage, man. That's pretty cool. The wrestler wants to fight Lorne in an unearned ladder match. The winner gets to be top. 2 words. Power bottom, dude. Lorne would be a power bottom. Does Hulk Hogan have a cameo? Yeah, Hulk Hogan has a cameo in this book, trust me. That's why you should keep listening to me, yeah. Alright. 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 Hang on. Hey, shit. Hang on. Let me... one second. Okay. Cool. Put it on VHS. And mail it to Lorne. Does Lorne have a VHS? Hey Rhoda, how are you? Lorne was in love with a robot last year, so why not a wrestler? Yeah, fuck, you know. Yeah, he could have like... How would he feel about a female wrestler, you know? Would he, like, you know, would he go for that? Just asking. I got a lot of power protein powder in my room. Not my room, sorry. In my kitchen. We know he has a CD player he doesn't know how to fucking use. Exactly. He doesn't know how to work a CD player. No. Not even a little bit. Okay. Alright, sip of water. Sip of wine. Okay. Let's continue. Oh, alright. Okay, wait. Alright, so we're up to chapter... Just give me one sec. Okay. Chapter 14! I know a guy who doesn't need his VHS porn anymore. You know, I've always wanted to know how VHS porns look like. I've never seen them. Like, do they have like the grainy footage and everything? And, you know, like, are they black and white? Oh my god, you know what I would love to see? Like Victorian porn. Oh, like Victorian era porn. That would be so cool. Because the reason why that would be so cool is because you know, like, everyone keeps thinking that the Victorians were like not like sex fiends or anything, and like they were like stunted, like sexually stunted and shit. No, they were horny bastards. I remember seeing a black and white photo. It was in a magazine. This photo appeared in an old-timey magazine, and it was just like I read it on an article or something like that, and they were saying the description of this photo so this girl, right, like this lady, and she's wearing a corset, and she has like this in her undergarments, you could tell, like nothing revealing. You couldn't see her tits or anything like that, but there was a description underneath the photo, and it said, this young lady has 12 eels inside her corset. Live eels inside her corset. You know, inside her as well, I assume. And it's like, that's a description, isn't it? Like, you know, like, it feels like very old-fashioned, like, hentai manga, you know? Like, you know how they, you know when you, like, you read it, and you see what they're saying and shit, and you're like, oh, yeah, I definitely know what's going on. I understand the situation. I sniffed coke. Hey, Poop Frog, how's it going? I sniffed coke with Milo Yiannopoulos. That sounds really fun, actually. He seems like Milo is an asshole. He's such a he pisses me off. It's like you know, he's like 1 minute he's gay, 1 minute he's straight. It's like, okay, I mean, you know, you're just saying it just to fuck around, you know, like, shut the hell up, dude. You know, just say that you're bi. Like, what's wrong with that? You know. Anyway, chapter 14. Jungle Mania. Oh yeah, I never wasted a coupon book. Sorry. You guys are so mean. Like, not mean, but like, you guys are the best. Oh. Alright. Chapter 14. Zealous had no chance of stopping the Farley soldiers. They were mercilessly mowed down by their rifles long before they could even activate their side blades. Some even kept count, while others commented on how this was one of their easiest takeovers, the Jirian might. It was only a fantasy compared to what the Farley's empire had accomplished. They cut down any, no matter who they came across, whether the zealot, assassin, or even a Lostyrian noble. This brutality satisfied von Ratha. Nearing the peak of the spire was the grand serpent-patterned doorway to the Oracle's most sacred antechamber and their ultimate seat of power. I can feel the power of the font. We are close, Zolran remarked as his fingers brushed along the ornate design. Your Highness, you should be behind our squadron before we enter the antechamber. Your safety is paramount, Eidolon said. Oh yes, the oracles will not appreciate peasants taking their source of power, Vaughn said. Eidolon's perfect lips twitched in frustration. She turned to hand signal her soldiers to begin firing upon the doors. The dark metal transformed into dull orange and grew whiter and hotter until the holes appeared in the doors. However, von Ratha's impatience forced the soldiers aside as she plied open the partially molten doors in the stone walls. Beyond the doors lay those who used, humiliated, and ultimately discarded her. Von Ratha's vengeance was nigh. She glided into the antechamber. Her reflection was caught in its pearly white floors, but to her dismay, the hall was empty. Her feet met the floor as the Fadali soldiers poured through the doors with their weapons pointed ahead, swarming around the throne, searching for anything or anyone. Where are they? Zolran said through his teeth. They must have abandoned the city to save their pitiful hides, Vaughn whispered. Emperor, we found someone, a soldier said, pulling a white-robed male from behind Oracle Raza's throne. His greasy blue-black hair hung low as he was dragged by the arms across the room and dropped in front of Zolran and Eidolon. Oracle Char rose his head, his eyes wide and his lips trembling with fear. His time-beaten face was covered in black and grey stubble. Small wrinkles lined across his forehead, laugh lines indented into his chubby cheeks, and his nose crooked and bent, looking like a boschkag brooding. Please don't kill me, he said. We won't yet, Eidolon said as her eyes locked into his. Oracle Char looked to Zolran. What do your people want? The font that your people use for power. Where is it? Zolran said as his body towered over. Deranged chuckles escaped von Ratha's lips. Oracle Char looked to her. His eyes bulged out from their sockets when he saw her ashen face. We all thought you were dead. You cannot kill rage, Char, she purred. Eidolon picked up Oracle Char by the scruff of his robes and lifted him to her face. Answer the Emperor's question, filth. Our link to the twins is gone, he said, holding his eyes shut. Zolran grabbed Oracle Char's neck and tore him away from Eidolon's grip. Where is the fountain? He growled. Oracle Char trembled. Tears leaked from his closed eyes that ran down his round face. It's all gone. The portal is shut. The council entered it and evacuated everyone and shut it from the other end. I arrived too late. His puffy eyes opened and looked at the high ceiling. Von Ratha followed his stare high up. What was a beautiful deep blue cloud with glittering silver specks became an empty space. They were gone, hiding in another plane, and now Von Ratha was left with her unfinished vengeance. Her innards twisted and her blood boiled. She stretched her telekinetic mind and lifted Oracle Char high to the metallic ceiling. Put me down! Put me down, Von Ratha, please! I'll do anything your people want. You just let me go, he begged as his limp body floated. A foolish request, Char. She chuckled as she slightly released him from her grip. His cries excited her further. Now, reopen the portal. I can't. Whoever sealed the portal would be on the other end in the domain of the twins, he said. Could you call them to return? Tell them that we were defeated, Eidolon said. They would see through my lies. They always do, he said. Then you will need to reopen it if you want to live, Vaughn said. I can't. Char shrieked when Von Ratha released her grip only to catch him again. Even if I could, I don't have the power to do that. Zolran's eyes traveled to Von Ratha before returning them to Char. If we gave you enough power, could you? I don't know, maybe, he said before Von Ratha released her grip, sending him hurtling down. Char fell with a satisfying crack when he struck the marble floor. The sound of crunching bone was like music to her ears. She looked down to see Oracle Char barely moving. His helplessness roused a devious thought in her mind. Throw him in the sensory deprivation chamber. For a while. That might relax him. Zolran turned to Eidolon. Take him to the dungeons and get one of our doctors to care for his injuries. Prepare my soldiers to search for any survivors in the city and bring them to the dungeons. Oracle Char looked up with fear in his eyes. He mouthed no. That was left ignored as copper-armored soldiers took him by the arms and dragged him away from the antechamber. My emperor should My Emperor, shouldn't we give some of the Girians to Char? Shouldn't we give some of the Girians to Char and save the rest for when we establish our lordship over them? Eidolon said. We will take as many survivors as Char needs to open the portal. If I have to sacrifice all of them, then that is what I will do, Zolran said. His voice was colder and his temper rising. Eidolon hesitated. Her top knot slightly bounced as she bowed low before hastily making her way to the antechamber's doorway. Lieutenant, Yvonne said. She smiled as the Fortalice female halted and turned back in irritation. I would start looking for the wood balls to the base of the spire. There's bound to be some younglings there waiting for their parents to collect them eventually. The muscles in her cheeks twitched before twisting her head back and disappearing into the melted doorway. I don't think she appreciates my help, Zolran, Von purred. Zolran inhaled and closed his eyes. She sensed an animalistic craze he was attempting to contain deep within his subconsciousness. You managed to summon us in the dungeons before. Why can't you open that portal? If we keep him as a prisoner, then he could betray us, Zolran said, finally opening his eyes. Oracle knowledge on teleportation far surpasses my own. No. What happened in the dungeon was an exception for my abilities. There I had an abundance of energy. Von paused for a moment before continuing. As for Char's betrayal, it is an absolute certainty. He and I have a history, a sort of master-slave relationship. Tonight I will be his master. Leave us, Zolran commanded to his remaining squadron as they left the antechamber. His eyes locked onto hers. Don't break him, Von Ratha, I'm warning you, Zolran said. The sensory deprivation cells will do nothing to him, physically, she said with a devilish grin. Is that where they put you before they exiled you? Zolran asked. He wiped Von Ratha's grin from her face. The antechamber fell silent as the plane of the dead. Zolran's face was unreadable. He was either a fool to touch the angry snake, or a hunter wanting to kill it. Von Ratha forced a laugh. Where else could they chain something like me? Eidolon informed me about your life, what your life was like here, that you were trained to kill at an early age, and serve those who sat in this very room. It was a terrible life, he said. His mind was hidden away behind a telepathic barrier strong enough even to repel Von Ratha. That's a dead life, Zolran. I don't care what happens to those vermin, she growled. Yet you are here with us, killing them and enjoying it. A fraction of you must at least care for them. Otherwise you would still be in the Barrier Hills, he said. I agreed to go on your little campaign because you wanted someone to conquer a foreign land and spill blood in your name. Your lot are all the same, she said. I heard those words long ago. Zolran's lips slightly curled as his eyes drifted into a distant memory. Before my ascension, there was someone in my life. We intended to be life partners, but after becoming emperor, that was no longer possible. Stop. Her voice was a barely audible whisper. Perhaps it's not about them. Perhaps it's only about one person, he said. Eidolon learned enough about me from our bonding experience, she said. Von Ratha wanted nothing more than to shred Zolran into pieces at that moment. No. You told me just then. Whatever that person did to you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that you have done all that matters is what you have done with your life and how others will remember you. And how others will remember you. How will your old lover remember you? As the one who betrayed them? She spat. I wouldn't know. I never saw him again, Zolran said. Alright. Okay, cigarette time. Oh shit, hang on. Ah! Sorry, I'm just like reading your comments. Beverly clearly children of passed away at 100. So she lived a long life. That's actually a really good age, huh? Like 100. I intend to live to about 1,000. That would be nice. That would be nice. That'd be really cool. Yeah, if anybody knows like a vampire or anything like that, could you send them my way so you know, they could convert me? That'd be pretty cool. That would be pretty neat. I would really appreciate that. She's seen to World War II. That's some good ass writing there, Kevin. I'm proud of you. Mm. All right. Huh. Okay. How many? 2. Ooh. Oh my gosh. Okay, hang on. There's a little picture in here that I forgot. I wanted to show you guys. All right, so just if you need to have an idea of how Von Ratha looks like a better depiction. Hang on. Can you see her? Can you see it? Keep reading. But did you see the fucking picture? Is what I'm asking. Okay. The sun had dimmed in the sky, so distant was its burn that it was a little larger than any other star. It. Oh, there's a fly. All right. It left the main sun alone in the heavens for the coming blooming of flowers, grass, and trees in the province. However, there would be no Gyrians to revel in the fresh growth, to feed their younglings, to feast in their hearths, and to offer to the gods. This was the last sun the Gyrian people will ever see again. Von Ratha watched from the spire's window. The city below smoked from the fire still burning. The serpent banners were torn from the walls and replaced by white drapes with a copper circle in the center. The far-east troops had begun trying to tame some of the flames so they could sack the buildings and take refuge in them. Cries from the streets reached her ears. She saw several soldiers pulling Gyrian commoners from their homes and rounded them up on the roads before they shoved them towards the spire. She bit her lip. Her teeth scratched her delicate skin as her mind considered how many would be still surviving in the rubble. There were a million minds in Gyria before she had been exiled. There would have been little more when she returned. The Fadalese had decimated the zealots and some of the civilians in the first wave. Most of the civilians in the first wave. Yet there were too few survivors found in the city. There was something she had missed, something she hadn't accounted for. Von Ratha. Idolan's voice called from behind her. Yes, Lieutenant, she said, whilst keeping her gaze to the broken black city. Are you ready to open the portal? She said. No, Von replied. Idolan's breath became heavier and more frustrated. We will not wait for you forever, witch. Von Ratha spun around. Her eyes sharpened on the Fadalese female's frowned face. Fool. It's not me that is holding your progress. It's your soldiers not gathering enough people. We have recovered every single Gyrian we could find in the city to bring them here. The rest have probably escaped through the portal, she said. Von Ratha tapped her nails against the windowsill. Perhaps. But they were already escaping through the portal by the time we came. As if they already knew about us coming. Of course they knew of our coming. Zolran saw to that. He was invited here, she said as her tone grew frustrated. They didn't know I'd be here, but it doesn't matter now. How many have you found? Von said. Less than 1,000. Though we are expecting a little more, she said. That cannot be all. Their energy won't be enough for me to open the door. There must be more. I can feel them somewhere, she said. Her eye caught a slight hesitation at Idolan. Von Ratha had almost overlooked it when she noticed her stare. Something to share, Idolan? Nothing with you, she hissed, as her hand tightened around the silver hilt of her shooting weapon. Von Ratha eyed the device. The long, thin copper tube had nail-length switch an inch from Idolan's main finger. What do you call those things? Guns. Idolan's eyes dropped to it. In all our travels, no one else has managed to make anything like it. That's why all the others are so easy to conquer, She smirked. Does the rest of the world look like this? Idolan shook her head. Her eyes glazed over the orange horizon. The Fadalese had never known a hellish place like this existed, let alone creatures surviving in it. I pity you. The desert is nothing compared to what Gyria was. If you look just over that red hill, that crumbling building is where I grew up. Von Ratha pointed to the edge of the window. You've learned a lot about me, and I know a lot about you. You know nothing about me, Von Ratha, she said with a fierce glare. That's not entirely true. I saw how upset you were with Zolran in the antechamber. Is it the first time you had a conflict of interest with your emperor? She said as her mind carefully probed around the fringes of Idolan's thoughts. I know what it's I know what it's like, better than most, when you're forced to do something you don't want to do. Edelon stepped toward the sill and looked at the orphanage at Hill. She was so close, Vonratha could smell the ash and dust from her armor. Pathetic old dump. We too have some of the same places for younglings whose parents or guardians can't take care of them anymore. They never would be allowed to be sheltered in places like that, Edelon quietly said. A flare of anger rose in Vonratha at her words. You mold them into becoming mindless killers too? Edelon carefully turned to face her. A twinkle of pride shone in her eyes. On the contrary, we care the most for them since they have no one else. Vonratha's lips curled. Shame you came so late, Edelon. We should have been conquered by you many centuries ago. Better late than never. Her eyes dropped to the Ashen City. One day the Fadalese will envelop this world and everyone will know what peace, kinship, and prosperity means. You truly care for your people. Very admirable. Sadly, Jurians will never know your dream. Zolran saw to it. Vaughn sensed a great struggle within Edelon. Her mind was too heavily guarded by a psionic barrier for her to enter indirectly. Once Zolran has claimed what is his, then he will be our greatest leader. I know it, she said. But he can't do it without me, and I can't do it without the right number of people. Vaughn expanded her mind to the Jirian captives within the spire and skimmed around the city. She counted their minds, but there was an ambient energy humming just beyond her reach. Have you checked the wood vaults for anyone there? The odd noble here and there, but the odd noble, however, nothing that you hope for. We'll have to make do with what you have, Vonratha. Edelon gave a faint smile. That's a shame. I could have sworn that there were many more, she whispered as she inched closer to Edelon. There are other options. Edelon's eyes widened as her lips parted. What are you saying? You brought an armada and had taken a city within mere hours. What use do you have for your soldiers now? She said. Never in a million lifetimes would I give up my people, she roared. Fortunately, that's not your decision to make. That's Zolran's. Vaughn couldn't keep a grin down as she levitated from the floor. He won't agree to it, she said. Zolran knows what he wants and seems willing to do anything to get it. Vaughn said. Edelon's cheeks were pink and eyes reddened. Her sigh shield wavered from her emotions. Unless you show me where you're hiding all the survivors. Edelon closed her eyes and the muscles in her jaw tightened and loosened. You'll have to find them yourself. There's a faster way, Vaughn said as she lowered herself to the warm floor. She snatched Edelon's hand and slid her way back into her subconsciousness. She opened her mind to her surroundings, taking in all the thoughts around the city. It was significantly quieter than the last time she tapped into their collective consciousness. She could sense her kind with greater ease than the strange Fadalese rampaging through the city. The Jirian minds that remained in the black walls were fragmented and were in utter chaos. Vonratha sensed the fear and rage from them before sensing their higher consciousness. There were thousands still hidden beneath the water caverns, and many more in the sensory deprivation cells. She could feel Edelon's most powerful psychic guards holding a psionic cloak over them, but their power was far clumsier and weaker than Agirian's, let alone hers. Edelon's arm trembled as she yanked it away from Vonratha's grasp. With her head hanging low and heavy breaths, she pressed her fingers against her temples. Don't be so upset, Edelon, Vaughn whispered as her blackened fingers parted loose black hairs from her brow. It could be so much worse. I could tell Zolran what you tried to do. Edelon's eyes shot up as her palm cracked against Vonratha's nasal bone. A flash of pain came over her as warm liquid dribbled down her upper lip. Vonratha covered her nose. Edelon's round lips curled into a satisfied smirk before she dashed down the holes. With the last piece of bone cracked into place, Vonratha wiped the blood from her lips and continued her stare out into the city. Right. Ambient energy, sorry. I can't speak, apparently. I don't do the talkie-talkie well. What? Imagine being nearly 30 and having to do the 12th grade over again. What? I once dreamed about being my current age, but finding out I never graduated high school, so I had to pick go back to high school. Actually, I've had nightmares like that before, where like I would be like, oh my god, I have like 12th grade homework I haven't finished yet, which is true because it, like I barely did any work in school. I barely went to school. The only time I really actually went to school was like tertiary education. That was it. Like that was the only time I actually cared about school. But like high school, forget it. Forget it. What was your, like, tell me guys, like what was some of your high school experiences like? Was it as nightmarish as my own? I was just, oh shit, oh fuck, I got my, oops, fuck. Okay. Alright. Same though. They stopped, same, though they stopped requiring that we do homework during the 12th grade. Wait, you didn't have to do homework in the 12th grade? Kevin? That's so cool. That's awesome, man. I literally did nothing that year. I dropped a bunch of classes too, so my day mostly consisted of study hall. That's awesome. I'm so envious, man. I had so much fun in high school. Pooh Frog, I'm glad that you had a good time. Like it's not a common thing now. It's not a common thing now. Yeah, like look, my high school wasn't bad. Like it wasn't that terrible, you know. But it was just boring. I hated the classes. I didn't like a lot of the people. And it was just like, you know. Alright, cool. Lido time. Smoke getting my eyeball. Oh my fucking word. Oh my fucking word. Alright, we're really close actually. Yeah, we're up to chapter 15 already. Holy shit. Wait, let me just count how many pages there are. Just give me one sec. So we're up to like page, oh shit. Okay. We're up to page 147. And let me just count how many pages we got. Oh wow. Oh, is that all? Yikes. That's not that much. Cool. Alright, yeah, we got like just over 6 pages left. That's pretty cool. Full leaves, I mean. I showed up, wait. I remember walking, oh, fuck me dead. Alright. I was pretty much done with school by high school. I didn't want to be there at all. I barely passed 12th grade, same. Now I do software development. That's awesome. That's awesome. Isn't it funny, like, people who are, like, you know, like, it's, like, I've met a lot of people who, like, are really, really intelligent and very, like, switched on. They just did appallingly in high school. And it was just, some of them barely even finished the 12th grade, you know. We used to ride around in a 63 Fairlane with a hood ripped off and a huge engine sticking out. That sounds actually like a lot of fun. Did you used to go on joyrides? Like, you know, like steal cars? That's something I would have done if I was brave. I went to like a country high school, and everybody knew everybody. And so like if I stole a car, everyone would know. It was like, you know, it's, you know, obvious who it was. I remember walking at graduation thinking I never have to meet most of you fuckers ever again. Bye. Okay, bye. I showed up high to my business education honors society induction ceremony, and I had to give a speech because I was a treasurer on the board. Rye-hop. Scarlet Ennaby. Scarlet Ebony. I'm back. Can you read the last chapter again, please? I can't. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna. I cannot. I'm sorry. Oh, well, what we're gonna, like, I'm gonna read chapter 15. Okay, so basically, like, Von Ratha caught Irulan trying to hide refugees so they wouldn't be killed from her. And Von Ratha's like, if you don't give them up, I'm gonna tell Zolran on you. she did that. And Idoline's like, fucking fine, whatever, you know, like, I tried. My face, the wine lover, my fave South Pacific princess. Hey, how are you? Do you like my necklace? It's my rosary beads. I made it myself. See, look. See, look. It's a little cross. It's an unk. You know? It's good. I love you, honey. Barber. Oh my word. No, I'm not gonna take Winnie's trench for a few minutes, Clover. No, it's not gonna happen. I think it was very pretty. There you go. Sip of water. Okay. Alright, one sec. Man, I'm getting cold. It's getting cold out here. That means I need more wine in me. Unmod her for a sec. I don't want to unmod her. No. No, I'm not going to do that. You're not going to pile on to Miss Wine Lover here. We're not going to do that. There's a fly on my fucking like camera. Oh, shit. Okay. Club, I'm crying. Wait, what? Wait. What's Anision's partner called again? Like Kai. Kai is crying right now. Kai me a river. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I'm not. I don't know, man. I don't know if I wanna. What are you gonna do? Kai is crying. Yeah, you know, Club is can be really mean, you know. Club would unmod his mom, his old mom, just to make a point. Okay. Okay, Club is mad with power. He's gone insane. This dude's nuts. Okay. Let's continue this book. Okay. Chapter 15. No rest for the wicked. The rest of the survivors have been found, much to the dismay of Idoline's most loyal psychic guards. Von Ratha vowed not to turn them into their emperor for as long as they burned the bodies in the dungeons and properly buried Blythe's body in the caves below. She watched the soldiers trample over the glowing fungal treads of the soggy cavern floors. Blythe had been tightly wrapped in a long, thin linen. They carefully lowered her in the freshly dug pit. Her body was a lot smaller than Von Ratha had realized, but her protruding belly kept catching her eye, even when she tried to look away. One of the soldiers started kicking the amount of dirt onto the pile. Anger flared in her, and she threw the soldier off his feet. "Get out of here, all of you!" she shrieked. Her voice was amplified by the hollow grounds. It took less than a moment for the troop to scurry back up into the dungeons, leaving Von Ratha alone with Blythe's open grave. She lingered what seemed like an eternity, apologizing to her a million times before extending her arms and telekinetically shoving the dirt over her body. The ground slowly swallowed her wrapped form until there was a small mound of dark soil on top. Von Ratha steadily moved closer, her hand gently pressed against the damp dirt. This was her first funeral. She had never mourned for any of those who passed around or because of her. She didn't know if this was mourning. Wherever Blythe and her youngling are, Von Ratha hoped they were far away from her. Tears beaded in her sore eyes as her hand pulled away from the mound, leaving an indented palm print on the wet soil. Her feet left the grounds as she glided to the dungeons. The chambers were once again filled to the brim with fresh captives. Some tried, demanding to know what the Fadalese wanted from them, and the others tried to bargain with their captors, while most either begged for their lives or remained silent. They cowered at Von Ratha's presence as she entered the chamber. She glided through them as they parted the way for her, afraid if they strayed too close to our natural pulsating aura, They might get caught in it. She descended the stone stairs to the sensory void cells where Oracle Child was held. Her aura started shining brighter as excitement grew. With a hand on his gun, the dungeon guard stepped from her path before she faced the cell's wall. The light sparked to life in the dark room, and Oracle Child sat up from his bed. His breathing deepened, and Von Rather could hear his heart beating in his chest. These cells are terrible, aren't they? I hope the guards are feeding you well at least, she said, filling her voice with false compassion. I've lost count after the 4th night, he said. His voice was hoarse. I've heard that you've been screaming for days on end. I'm surprised you can even string a sentence, she chuckled as she moved closer to Char's hunched body. Yes, the cells tend to do that. Prisoners often lose track of hours in a day in here. They all go mad. Enough with the torment, Von Rather. When do you expect me to open that damn portal? Char said. His lips twitched into a smile. Her lips twitched into a smile. When I say you're ready. The soldiers still haven't finished rounding up the civilians. Oracle Char's eyes widened in horror. Will you let them suffer? You will be if you don't cooperate, she said as she inched closer. He shuffled his body against the wall, trying to stay as far away from her as possible. Look, what happened all those years ago. I tried telling Raza not to exile you, but she wouldn't listen. You failed, Vaughn screamed as she grabbed him by his robes, pulled him closer to her face, and slapped him with telekinetic strength. Char fell to the bed and covered his face. Show me how you would have begged. Show me how you would have pleaded for your slave's life. Von Rather gripped his greasy black hair and pulled him to the center of the tiny cell. Char sat on his knees, his head hanging low as tears dropped on his knees. Oracle Raza, please, he began. No, I am your master now. Tell me every little detail of how you would grovel, she hissed as she slashed the cyblade across his face, creating a long line of blue along his cheeks and nose. Please stop, he begged as he covered the fresh wound. Never. I will never stop until you're dead. Dead! She screeched as she summoned more cyblades into existence from her hands and began cutting more of his skin. Enough! Edelan's voice boomed in the cell. Von Rather swung around to see Edelan standing in front of several soldiers who aimed their guns directly at her chest. Oh, I didn't hear you come in, Von said. The sensory deprivation cell seemed to do what they're created for, she said as she stood tall and her plump black lips curled into an unfriendly smile. Are you afraid to be left alone with me, Edelan? Vaughn said as she eyed her guards. Do you think they can protect you? Her smile disintegrated into a frown. The Emperor sent me here to make sure you have appropriately prepared our captive for the portal opening. Well, inform Zol that this filth isn't ready for the ritual yet. He will just have to wait, Vaughn. Emperor Zolran will wait no more. Infuse Char with power immediately, she said as her face tightened with impatience. Come, slave. Let us feast on those peasants, Vaughn said as she strode to the chamber outside, dragging Char at her heel. Edelan and her guards intently watched by the steps as the survivors yelped and cried when Von Rather and Char entered the center of the cell blocks. She commanded Char to rise to his feet with a wave of her hand. He immediately obeyed and slowly rose with his head still hanging low, too afraid to meet anyone's eye. Von Rather gently placed her talon-like hand on his crown, and with her other hand stretched high to the dungeon ceiling. A void ball burst from her palm, and the crowds began screaming, trying to run at the soldiers that kept them in the chamber as life force poured from their faces. The chamber was overflowing with red and white energies. Von Rather siphoned it through her hand and redirected it to her other hand and finally into Char's head. The life essences exhilarated her as they swam through her body. Her eyes rolled back to overhead, and she felt her victims' lives through her mind's eye. She felt the life force pulled from their souls were finally ripped from their bodies. The euphoric moment when the last Jirian dropped to the cold floor dead. Char collapsed to his knees. His white-hot aura brimmed beneath Von Rather. He looked down, licking her lips, as she imagined draining him with his usefulness. This power, I never felt such, he whispered as his head Turn to her ecstasy, she said as her eyes rolled to Eidolon. Her face refused to meet Von Ratha's. Instead, she looked to the bodies left behind and seemed too disgusted by what had transpired. The Emperor is expecting us. Allow me. Char climbed to his feet. The brightness of his aura made it hard for Von Ratha to see his face. With a single clap of his hands and in a flash, they were all sucked through an airless hole. Von Ratha's insides violently twisted when she was pushed out of the interplanar vortex and into the oracle antechamber. The dark walls were lined with copper-armored elite guards surrounding Zolrin, who now took position in Oracle Raza's high throne. Are you ready to begin? He asked from the shadows of his new conquest. Yes, Your Highness, Eidolon said as she took her place by his side. Char respectfully bowed as his light sizzled in the air. As his light sizzled the air, Von Ratha stood back, ready to shred him if he failed or if he succeeded. He raised his hands to the ceiling, and a white-hot light exploded forth, pouring into the center of the antechamber. It was a spectacle to behold. The white energy bore its way into the space until an aroma of rain and grass filled the room. A cool lavender fire leaked from the center and spread across the walls and ceiling as Char stretched the portal wider. The lavender flames extinguished and were replaced by a dark blue sparkling mist that grew as the portal widened to almost cover the entire middle of the antechamber. The entrance had changed shades of blue as small silver sparks flew forth from the portal. It was a vision of otherworldly beauty. Char retracted his energy beam. Von Ratha looked to him to see his white aura dim, and his hands lost their glow. Zolrin slowly walked over to the portal. His eyes were wide with hints of joy and excitement. Isn't it beautiful, Eidolon? This source of power will evolve my empire, but at such great cost. Von Ratha heard Eidolon's thoughts and emotions from deep within her consciousness. Zolrin strode to the portal with his hand out touching the shifting energies from the entrance. His gaze was utterly transfixed by the well of energy before him. He stood there like a hypnotized prey. Then a familiar presence was felt in the pits of Von Ratha's gut. She realized they were waiting for them on the other side. Trap! Von shouted. Eidolon's eyes widened. Every soldier in the antechamber pointed their weapons toward the portal entrance. At that moment, a baby blue light appeared from the center. It shot forth a torrent of electricity that struck most in the antechamber. The soldier fired aqua green lasers from their guns into the hearts of the portal. Zolrin was the first to be struck. His body flew across the room and struck Raza's throne with his back. Eidolon fired her own weapon into the vortex core, but an electric bolt ripped her copper rifle in the middle, blowing it in half. Fatally, soldiers fell one by each bolt, while Char scurried and hid behind one of the thrones. Von Ratha released her psionic shield around her body as the antechamber was thundering. Through her psychic senses, she saw an outline of figures in the center of the portal who were creating the carnage. She reached out with her telekinetic mind and gripped the closest figures to the entrance and began pulling them through. Raza and a handful of oracles materialized, continuing their attack along with surviving zealots. Von Ratha retracted her shield and enveloped Raza with it, trying to crush her, but the High Oracle teleported away moments before. She reappeared in front of Von Ratha with a shining blue fist. Raza struck her on her cheek. Raza struck her on her cheek, sending her flying in the air. Raza teleported again, this time appearing behind Von Ratha before she landed, striking her with her powerful fists. She felt Raza's first strike deep within her shoulder blades. Between her shoulder blades. Von Ratha felt a crack before falling to the marble floor. She spat up blood and teeth, coloring the ground with blue as she attempted to rejuvenate her wounds. "You plagued our city!" Raza shrieked. She teleported beside Von Ratha, stomping on her ribs and breaking them. "You dare return to our home," she continued, her relentless pounding into Von Ratha's torso. But there was a fleeting moment between her attacks. Before Raza could unleash her final strike, directly aimed to Von Ratha's skull, she telekinetically clamped around the High Oracle. Her beautiful form froze inside a red aura. Her face twisted in shock and fear. Von Ratha slithered up Raza's legs and around her torso. Her embrace anchored Raza from teleporting anywhere to safety. Send my prayers to the twins, Vaughn whispered into the High Oracle's perfect ear. She pushed her hands onto the skin of Raza's back and side, sending all her hate and rage into her fists and making them as hot as the dual suns. The Oracle screamed as her body cooked from the inside until she burst into flames. Vonatha's wicked laughter echoed when she broke off from the burning body, throwing her psychic-born fire around the warring chamber. The portal throbbed and pulsated a sickly blue and brown hue as Vonatha drained its power. Oracles, Fatalis, and remaining zealots unfortunate enough burned within her madness. Many clamored for their escape from the antechamber, but it didn't matter to her. She would all have them in the end. The flames engulfed the room. In swirling flames, she danced and laughed. Her vengeance was almost at completion when it was stopped by a cold piece of metal that went through her shoulder. The celebration ceased as Vonatha looked to see a piece of Raza's throne poking out of her skin and dark blood pouring from the wound. She swung around to see Char standing amongst the flames. His white robes were turning black as they burnt onto his grey skin. His roundish face twisted and wobbled into unnatural proportions until a golden light peeled away to reveal another familiar face underneath. Her heart was ready to burst from her chest as she forced her voice from her tight throat. Nalix. So. Wait. Yeah, cigarette time and wine time. Now, sip of wine. What? No, you know what? I don't want this Krypton. I just want to get to the Krypton. Well, I'm afraid Krypton be dead. Like majority of the characters in this goddamn story, let me tell you. It's time for a showdown. Alright, hang on. Wait. Like, let me find another song. God damn. Ooh, this is a good song. Hang on. Okay. Oh, fucking ads. Alright, you know what? Just shut up. Just shut up. Okay. Alright, cool. Nalix versus Von Rath. Her name is Von Ratha? Oh, thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it. Look, I know it's really fast-paced, okay? Like, look, as I said, it was actually intending, I initially intended this book to be 3 separate books. But, like, I didn't really understand pacing when at the time. So I've been struggling with that a little bit, and it was like Von Ratha's story was quite short, and so it came to like 53 or 4,000 words all up, and so I just wanted to, I was like, oh, it's probably too small for a novel, so I just said like, oh look, I'll just paste it all together, make one massive chunk. See, look, we're actually almost, almost there, Clover Tile. Why you do me like that? Why you do me like that? Yeah, like I initially wanted. Yeah, there you go. I didn't really, as I said, didn't understand pacing. I think I could actually really expand on the story. Maybe I can go back to it once upon a time, one day, and be like, I'm gonna put a full, add another 50,000 words on top. As thick as a telephone book, exactly, Omega. Oh my god. I keep getting spoken by Ive. This is why I don't like smoking durries, mate. Durries. Alright, we're almost done, I promise. Literally, we're almost done. Hang on, how long have I fucking been streaming for? Holy shit, 3 hours. Alright. So, Cool. All right. Add Aaron Johnson as a character. Huh. I'm not sure who'd that be. All right. Nalek said nothing. His dead eyes locked onto hers as he dashed towards her. A moment of shock passed as she focused her inferno on him, but he was too quick. He collided into her torso, sending the two of them onto the floor. Von Ratha pinned underneath as he beat into her face. Heartless, cold, dead witch. Nalex yelled. With every word, a strike would follow. A telekinetic force wave burst from her mind, throwing him in the air before he pillowed on a charred corpse. I've missed you, she said as she levitated on her feet. I should have killed you in the desert cave when Eos asked it of me, he said as he leapt to his feet. Her vision and focus blurred as blood ran into her eyes. She barely felt pain. She couldn't feel anything. Von Arthur whipped the blood from her face and looked up to see Nalix, but he disappeared from her sight. The portal trembled. Its force shook the antechamber and cracked the metal walls. Von Arthur's flames took a life of their own. She watched as the portal began consuming the debris and nearby cadavers. The vortex transformed into a brilliant blue, into black, lightless hole as it swallowed the antechamber. Von Arthur tried to resist the pull of the portal, but all her energy was drawn from her mind and into the hole. She felt his heavy arm wrapped itself around her neck. She felt herself getting dragged into an airless wormhole, and the vision of the antechamber disappeared from her view. She was pulled into a dark and damp hole.
You sometimes find the fear of what could happen is making nothing happen in your life.
Shut up. She took a deep breath that smelt of moth-eaten cloth and body odor. When her night vision settled in, Von Ratha saw high training poles and ropes interlaced around the ceilings and walls. Recognize this place? Nalix's voice came from the dark. No, this couldn't be. He had taken her back to their abandoned academy. You promised to never bring us back here, Vaughn said as she tried scanning the room for him, but she couldn't sense his mind or aura. Don't bother. Your psionics won't work anymore. Mine don't either, he called. Impossible, she thought. She looked to her body to see her red aura was gone, and felt her stomach hunger for the first time in decades. What have you done to me? Vaughn shouted as she clung to her belly. Nalix's golden eyes appeared from the shadows. She saw an outline of his tall body inching closer. She stumbled back with her arms stretched out, trying to telekinetically grab him. I told you not to bother. It's useless, he said. This hunger, it's maddening. What's happening? She shuddered as her fingers clutched to her loose skin. The portal was a heart of Jiria, and it fed us and kept us safe for eons until you destroyed it, he said. Bonatha's heart began hammering in her chest. She stammered back, hitting her skeletal back against a brown stone wall. No, this is Jiria's fault. You're at fault too, Nalix. Nalix stopped in his tracks. I know it is, and I knew you would be back. After the failure of New Jiria, I told the council it could be only one person who could have done that. It took me some time, but I convinced them of a plan. They didn't trust that you would survive, but they didn't know you like I did. Von Arthur laughed wickedly. If you knew me, then you would never have betrayed me. I did betray you, and I'm sorry. But that was the cost to save Jiria, he said. You and your council failed. If you could have ended me in the cell right that night, none of this would have happened. Now the sands will wash the sins of the city and its degenerate inhabitants from all memory in this world and in the next one, she said. You're right. We tried saving our way of life at the expense of all who cared to live it, he said. How can you still defend them? They took people from their families, warped them into monsters. They did this to us. Jiria can never be forgiven, Vaughn said as she clung to at her temples with her black fingers. Her hunger drove her further and further from sanity. When you and Zolran threw me in the dungeons, giving me spoiled food, leaving me in filth, I didn't know if I was alive or dead. It was hard to forgive, though not impossible, he said. She could hear his breathing getting heavier the closer he came. but what you did to those poor souls down there cannot be forgiven. Alex swung a punch that narrowly missed Von Ratha's head. In her depleted state, she was surprised to move so fast, even if it was for that one moment. She ran along the various pieces of gym equipment, seeking a place to hide from him until she came across an obstacle course with many shadowed nooks. I stayed behind with a brave few to save the last group of survivors before the council closed the portal, he shouted from across the hall. But the group never came. Von Ratha's breathing deepened. She frantically crawled further into the obstacle course, hoping it would dampen Alex's voice. I didn't know why, but I sensed a great loss that almost pulled my chest out. Then I knew she was dead. She could hear Nalex pull a heavy ladder from the wall and hurl it into the pavement. The crashing sound was so loud that she pressed her hands against her ears to blot it all out. I tried to get her, but the council wouldn't allow me, otherwise all would be endangered, they said. So I waited as the portal closed behind me, and felt you drain the life of my partner and unborn offspring, he said before ripping the section of the obstacle course under which Von Ratha lay in fetal position. Von Ratha didn't fight back. She wasn't certain whether she couldn't or wouldn't, but a fraction of her had regret. Alex picked her up by the throat and held her clean from the floor. Blythe, I didn't know, she choked out. More of her breath escaped her lungs, and her eyes began losing focus on Alex's face and arm. She felt herself being lowered to the floor, and the steel grip from her neck loosened. Von Ratha hunched forward to cough and desperately fought for a gulp of air. You are truly a disgusting creature, he said over her. I thought about you, even when I was with Blythe. Sometimes I would catch myself imagining if you were in her place. She was your friend, Von. Von Ratha looked at him. Alex's maroon hair was neater and tied back behind his shoulders. His face was still scarred, and his tattoos faded, but time didn't appear to touch his features from his youth. They hurt me, she said as her fingers rubbed at her bruised neck. I'm sorry. Me too. She couldn't meet his eye any longer. The silence in her mind was deafening. She wished she could send her thoughts, her inexplicable emotions, anything. If there was some way he could understand. But even with everything stripped away, all she was left with was silence as her answer. Alex touched Von Ratha's angular shoulder, then slid his smooth hand across her protruding collarbone, and finally lifting her gaunt face closer to his by her chin. Von Ratha shook as he stared at her with a fraction of tenderness in his eyes. She reached out and caressed his rough cheek with her cadaverous fingers. A moment passed the first time in their lives of not exchanging a word. This was to be their first and only time. With a swift motion, Alex wrapped his arm around her shoulders, and with a firm grip he hauled her across the gym hall. There were dozens of metal tables piled on top of each other against the corner. Von Ratha stopped shaking, even when he rolled her onto the dirty table and strapped her body down. She watched him when he picked up a rusty serrated knife and gently placed it on her neck. Von Ratha watched his dead eyes when he started sliding the knife back and forth. He was executing himself that night. He cut until she could no longer keep her eyes focused on her lover's face. He cut until she could no longer feel her body, and then he cut until Von Ratha was no more. They did this to us! Oh my god. Alright. I'll admit, that was a hard read. Alright. What do you think? So he cut her head off. There you go. He cut her fucking head off. Okay. Now. Alright. She's headless now. Well, if you remember, it was a little bit of foreshadowing when she was like, I can't heal severed heads or something like that. What a dick. Well, no, he wasn't a dick. She was the dick, but I mean, they're both dicks. Let's be real. He didn't it wasn't even like a clean slice. It was like, I like violence too. That's why I write books about heavy violence. All right, now the epilogue. But hang on a minute, you say. This is a book about reincarnation. How can this be the end? Nay, nay, it is not the end. It is merely the beginning. It is merely the beginning of something new. The last part was not a good and new moment. No, I agree. Epilogue and prologue. Are there any other forces in existence greater than fear or shame? Too much fear can cripple the mind, but a little bit can also build communities or create an immortal sculpture. Too much shame can obliterate self-worth, but in small amounts it can make a lasting friendships built on respect. Those emotions can remind us that we have an opportunity to do better, work harder, and live longer. Unfortunately, far too many people let those emotions overtake their inner selves, while others who don't possess those emotions are destroyed. I was one of those people. I felt neither shame or fear. As the darkness came upon me, I remember seeing no light at the end of that tunnel. There were no snake gods to face, or anything Von Ratha was brought up to believe. I had returned to the plane of the dead, but it wasn't like last time. It was far darker. There was a sea of grey faces waiting for me, piled on top of each other, stretching across the horizon. They were my victims. All of them waited for me to face their judgment. Their stares froze my disembodied soul. This was to be my hell. My soul guides, the ones who devoted themselves to protect me, stripped me from all psionic knowledge and power before throwing my soul into the inescapable abyss. For countless ages I watched Von Ratha kill her victims from their perspective. I watched my former self murder me through each pair of eyes, from Matron Eos to Blythe to her unborn youngling, and countless more. I felt their suffering multiplied, washing away my apathy. When my soul guides were satisfied that my punishment was enough, they considered for a moment whether to pull my essence apart and scatter it across the existence, or give me one more chance. A single chance to correct the imbalance and injustice caused by my choices, and not to waste this opportunity, for you will not receive another, they said. I was expected to repay my debts through helping others, which was to begin immediately. They explained that my darkness will take several lifetimes to wash away, but they saw hope in me that I didn't see. I didn't grieve for my former failed life. It was something I wanted to forget. For eons we traveled through thousands of realms and planes and dimensions, seeking a new life and home. Finally, my soul guides made their selection. I had no choice in the matter. If only I had known what awaited me. We came across a cold blue world, covered in green lands and great bodies of water. That world was rich in life, and the inhabitants of that world were unusually kind to each other, something I wasn't accustomed to. I questioned my guides on how I could help these people, as they seemed to be helping each other already. Their reply was that they were experiencing a time of great peril, yet they did not know it. I watched closely the inhabitants living in large, wide cities, far more advanced in technology and wisdom than the people from my former life. They were interacting with many different life forms, even ones that came from other worlds. This was part of an interstellar community. A rush of excitement flew through my soul. A new home awaited me. I questioned my guides on who these people were and what to expect from this strange world. All souls you have encountered from your previous life will reincarnate to this species who call themselves humans, they said. As they looked to the cities, and this group of beings call themselves Atlanteans. Entering life 2. I'm fed up with this world. Alright, I think I'm gonna call it here, guys. I am fucking tired. Where's my shit, where did my toothpick go? I was using a toothpick to be like my to be my book, the bookmark. That's it. All right. Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. Okay, seriously, like the first chapter of part 2. Hang on, it's called chapter 16. Chapter 16, the funeral. That's the first one, and I really like it. It's a bookmark. Yeah, this is my bookmark here. Okay. Don't worry, it's not a used book. Like, I didn't use this toothpick. I didn't, like, you know. I have a. You know, it's fresh. It's fresh. Don't worry. I'm not a disgusting pig. I promise. So you can go on your fucking dates down there with other guys. Yeah. Oh, wait, there's so much light. Holy shit. Hang on. There we go. That's better. All right, guys. Well, hang on. Let me just check something really quick. Hang on. I hope I didn't dox myself. Don't you dare. All right. Let me just check. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's a big boy right there. This is how chunky part 3 is right there. Okay. I am cheating on you, Kevin. Yeah, I am. Yeah. All right. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed part 1 of my book, my first book. I have to say, there were some really good parts in it, but because I've gotten better at the writing, you know, I've got better at the writing, but yeah, I wasn't terribly pleased by a lot of the content in there, only because I'm like, oh god, this is kind of cringy actually. All right. Well, I'm gonna run away for a bit. And oh my God, Lawn Vignettes! You literally arrived just when I finished. So, there you go. Yeah. Like, let's just chill out for like a second. I just wanna. I don't know. Like, what do you think? Like, tell me what your thoughts were. Just did you think it was? I don't know. Yeah, it was a lot happened. That's the thing. It was breakneck speed, and that is something that I need to work on, and that's something that I definitely improve in part 2, because I wrote the book at different stages, like in time. So, yeah, it's all different. How do I? I'm trying to like roll I'm trying to roll a cigarette. I like killing and violence. Well, that was easy. Oh, well, there's a lot of that. Don't worry. Yeah. It's kind of fucked. Okay. You know, I think I should probably add like a disclaimer or something in the book, because there's a lot of violence in there. And actually, there's a few people who bought the book, and they've actually who read it, and they were like really surprised at the level of violence. Yeah, they were really surprised at the level of violence in this thing, and they were like, "Oh, I didn't know you were, you know, into that." And I'm like, obviously never met me before. They thought it would be something a bit more happy-go-lucky, like, you know, happy endings and shit. You've come to the wrong person, let me tell you. My cat's asleep. Look at him. Absolutely. He looks like a he's a little cutie. Magna? Not sure what you're talking about. Magna? Nani? Scarlet Ebony, it needs more cowbell. You know what, lady? You need cowbell. That's what I'm saying. What are you about to read? It's explicit. What you're about to read is it's explicit. Here is Melania. Hello. Hi. Oh, hi, doggy. All right, guys. I'm sore, and I got in trouble in school because my writing was always had too much murder in it. That's why they call my mom. Oh my word. Yeah, nah, I get that. Yeah, I wrote an assignment where I actually wrote all over the page. It wasn't actually no. It was a test. It was one of my tests, and I wrote like in like red, like scratched red writing all over the essay, and like from literally like bit by bit all over the place. And they thought like this person is disturbed, is very deeply disturbed. So it was great, like having that validation, you know. Thank you, Sting. You was messed up at the time, yeah. But I never like not. I've never not been messed up, so I don't know what that feels. I don't know what like not being messed up feels like. So, it's boring being normal, you know. Very, very, very dull. Yeah, I gotta go to the bathroom, so I shall bid you all adieu. Wait, no, hang on a minute. I have to finish my wine first. I'll be right back. You know what? I want to hang out with you guys a little bit more. You know, I want to hang out with you. You know, a little bit more. Just 2 seconds. Oh, hang on. Just got my, all right. Yeah, okay. I don't, like, do you just want to, like, listen to something, like, let's just, can we just, like, listen to, Raptor Bacon's, like, new, video really quick? Hang on. Sorry, I just saw my face in the streaming. But I'm pulling a face. I'm like, you know, oh man, you know, like YouTube always picks out the freaking worst thumbnails, man. I don't like. Did they do this on purpose or something? Or something? Jesus Christ. Okay. All right. Let's see, Mr. Raptor, Macon's Raptor. The reason, you know, I've just gotta soothe my throat from the talking just for a few minutes. All right. Let's just pause this. Oops.
Hey guys, my name is Stefan.
Shush, girl.
Designer based in Sydney, Australia.
Alright, let's start from the beginning.
Hi, I'm motion designer.
Oh my god, there's more ads!
Series, I'm going to show you some easy effects
Oh
you
my
can
God.
create inside Premiere Pro.
The Texas trip, yeah.
Hello?
I know everyone's been
Hey!
Hey.
How's it going?
Let's listen to
Huh?
it together.
How's
It's
it
a
going?
family.
Well, going all right. So I found out
Just chill out for a bit.
that you want to go spend Valentine's Day with people down in Texas.
It is awesome. I'm so excited. So let me tell you what's happening. So my job is sending me and a coworker who just happens to be Erin, because actually I was able to get her a job. They're sending us to Texas, and they said that we each can bring someone, and so she's bringing her boyfriend. So far it's the three of us going to Texas. The job is paying for it. Airfare, hotel, everything is included. It is insane what they're doing, though, because they're paying, they're literally paying for, like, I think it's 4 or 5 nights there, but we're only working 1.5 days. And they said, you know, you guys can just go and enjoy yourself and see the town. And so I thought maybe you could come. Can you come?
No, I can't go to Texas.
Ask Maria. Maria is not going to let you pass this up. This is, Lauren, this is a free trip to Texas for,
Yeah,
like,
Maria, well, and there would be so much involved with me going.
I mean, we're going to be going to Six Flags and vegan restaurants and museums and water parks and malls. It's going to be insane.
I love her excitement in her
You're right.
voice.
No, I can't go. I
You
can't.
can
Ask.
She won't even let me leave the state, and I can't go anywhere. I can't afford to right now.
Well, everything is paid for. The food is paid for. The flight is paid. We have a rental car that's paid for. The hotel is paid. Literally, only thing that you would need to maybe save up for is some shopping money.
There's no way I can save anything right now other than to pay my bills.
Can you ask?
How much are his bills really? Like, I'm sorry. I know we... Ramona is maximum troll in this call. Yeah, she... but yeah, like, how could he be earning just enough for all his... Do you know what I mean? Like, how could he... It just doesn't compute how someone who just wouldn't have any savings or anything like that's wild.
Your mom for a loan?
Mom don't have the money to do that. I can't anyway. I can't leave the dogs.
Or I can't leave the dogs.
Well, Roy would watch the dogs for me, but still.
Yeah, let Rory watch the dogs.
I can't leave my job like that.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be so much fun. I didn't know that there was so much to do in Texas.
You didn't have somebody else in mind already?
I know, Club.
Say again?
It doesn't make any...
Well, no, I mean, I have other people I can ask because, you know, 'cause we both get to bring someone.
It's wild how he just doesn't have the ability to save money. It's I don't get it. Like he just spends it all. Like he just like blows it all like in one hit. It's I don't get it. His wages should be garnished.
And so, so she's bringing someone, and I get to bring someone. So we, you know, so I thought I'd ask you because, like, it's
There's no way I'd be able to go.
No, we'll be able to go.
And you're sure if you ask her, she's gonna say no? I mean, I don't, like, I mean, you're gonna, like, I think, why don't you ask her to contact the Texas probation people or whatever, like, you know what I mean, like their probation department, so that they can, like, and like maybe have you check in there every day.
She's not going to do anything like that. She won't do anything like that.
Ah, you'll be deleting Mike
I
Pence
can't
again.
do that anyway.
This
I can't
is,
afford to do that right now. I've got to make my land payment, and I've got to make my other payments.
Yeah.
Because this is
I was thinking the same thing as well. Like, I was hoping that, yeah, they would actually, yeah, I thought that would be automatic. If someone is expected to pay somebody back, the wages would be automatically garnished. So, yeah, I don't know.
incredible. Like, it is just an incredible opportunity.
2 more years, and well, actually 2.5 more years, and yeah, I wouldn't be actually. If I was already working for A. Powell, then other than that wouldn't be such a problem. 'Cause I'd be making enough money, and plus I'd only be working 3 days a week, so.
It is just, oh.
Well, now I feel bad for sending you that last message.
Yeah, you did send me some pretty rough stuff. But, I mean,
That weren't that rough.
Huh?
That wasn't that rough.
Well, anyway, but no, I'm just like, it's like, I feel bad for you that you're unable to come.
I think real estate is the best profession for women. Now, that's a pretty bold statement.
Sorry about that. Bloody ads.
Why couldn't they send me to Maine for 4 or 5 days?
Why couldn't they send me the name for 4 or 5 days? I don't know. I don't even know. Let me think. We have someone who works in Boston, but I think that's the closest to Maine that we have. Yeah, that's the closest to Maine we have, is someone in Boston. So I don't know if we have product in Boston or in Maine or not, but
Yeah, you do.
Texas is a huge market.
Oh no, that was your other job you did.
Wait a minute, I have an idea. Ask or tell Maria that you're like interviewing for a job, and maybe she'll let you go.
No, I can't lie.
Hang on. I wanna point something out. I listened to this call several times, and it was it's so bizarre because he's utterly upset. Like he's obsessed with this girl. He's obsessed with all the chicks, right? But he has this opportunity to actually meet her, right? Like there's a chance that he could actually meet her, and he's just he ain't budging. He doesn't want to meet her, which is very interesting, I think. So.
Lie to her. I wouldn't lie to her anyway. That just hurt me more than anything.
Right. Oh yeah. Good spotting, Scarlett. Yeah. I can't lie to probation unless it's about drinking and sending nudes. Exactly. Longest thing that obsession is love. Well, yeah. He doesn't know what love is. Obviously, it's like his brain is like, what is love? That song we're playing over and over in his head. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. It's a good song. I kind of want to listen to it now.
I mean, it seems unfair to make someone not be allowed to travel.
If it were Mitchell.
If what?
So if it were Mitchell, then there'd be a chance of it, but.
What about if I arrange for you to interview with...
He's an idea, Scarlett. He's an idea.
For a position at my company?
No. I don't do that same kind of work for one.
Could you get a job with my company? I bet you they would give you a job.
What does Ramona do anyway? Just out of curiosity, like, what does she say? What did she tell Lorne that she does? Is it like a mystery shopper thing, like something to do with shopping or something? I don't remember what it.
They look at my record and.
How much do you make?
They said no, thank you.
How much do you make?
Now I don't know. I've never made enough.
It's about sending a message. Oh man, I love the way the Joker it pulls off his little face mask and he's like, hi, and here we go.
To really figure it out.
How much was your last check for?
Mike Pence, how are you? Actually, you know what? Everyone be banning you. It's my turn to not ban you. Like I'm just gonna retract your message. Wait. Oh wait, no. You know what? Here we go. I made you a moderator.
Well, not only that, my checks are up and down all the time.
Well, how much were your last?
I'm anxious for Ray Dewey Powell to get me to work.
How much were your last 2 checks for?
One for over 500. Actually, both of them were for over 500.
I made Mike Pence a moderator.
So 500, was that for 1 week or 2 weeks?
That was for 1 week.
Okay, so 500 a week.
About 2,000 a month, and sometimes more.
Okay, and how many hours is that?
I get and all that stuff. Huh?
How many hours is that?
It varies. Depends on how many.
I don't know why I did it. I was fucked up at the time. I don't know. I didn't want to do it. I just did it. You know, I just didn't want to do. I didn't listen. I didn't want to make Mike Pence a moderator. I didn't want to. What's so hard to understand?
Probably 60 or better.
Say again?
Right around 60.
You work 60 hours a week?
Well, it's not like my job is all that hard. I drive truck.
I drive truck. I drive truck.
Most of the time, my job's not hard.
I leant wrong and it is my back hurt.
Uh-huh.
So it's 500 for 60 hours?
It doesn't feel like 60 hours to me.
Because, I mean, I could get you could make more than that.
God.
Oh, I know I can. I can make $67,000 a year and just waiting for March to call Dewey Powell so they can get me to work. And they may have already called. I got to call them on Mondays.
I don't even know what Venmo is.
There's some lady called Mom's house yesterday, and Mom told them that she had the wrong number. And I got to thinking I had already talked to Katrina once and let her know that I changed my number. And she said, put it on file, and she might not have put it on file. And she might have gone to call me and not have my number. So she might have called Mom for that reason.
That could have happened.
That could have happened, so I don't know. So I got to call her on Monday, find out.
Yeah, call Katrina, and I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It just seems like odd to me that Maria would just automatically shoot down.
Well, it's not weird, Ramona. Actually, it's not fucking weird because. Frankly, he didn't fucking pass his rape class, did he? Because it's like, well, I mean, I know she's maximum troll right now, but it's like, Lauren doesn't even want to admit, that like Maria won't let him go because he knows she won't let him go because he knows he hasn't passed his rape class. He hasn't passed it, and at this point, I think it was already like 4 years. Or so, or something like that, wait, is Lauren back in rape class again? I'd like to know this. I'll send you Dogecoin melt. That would be really cool. Yeah, that'd be really cool. I like Doge. There you go. I'm into cryptocurrency. Oh no, this thing has a. Oh fuck! My shirt has a tear in it. Oh well, I'll just sew it back up again. What am I drinking? I'm drinking some really cheap-ass Moscato, 2020 pink Moscato, southeastern Australia. South Point Estate. See?
Flying to Texas.
Well, she's already put it in my new thing that she made up that I can't leave the state. And that's because she hasn't gotten to know me. Mitchell, more than likely, Mitchell would have
I'm
said
so
okay,
anxious to
no
touch the
problem.
ban button.
Why don't you tell her?
Because it won't work.
No. Say this. The trip is 2.5 weeks away. Ask her what you have to do in that 2.5 weeks to prove that that you are deserving, I should say, of leaving the state.
Yarra Valley. Look, I'll drink anything. To be honest with you, I'll drink anything. But I'll drink anything that's affordable. You know, anything that's ultra sweet and gets the job done. You know, I'm a registered ban offender. Oh my fucking word. RBO. Mike Pence. Mike Pence, change your name to Mike Penis immediately, or else I'm taking a wrench away.
There's nothing I can do. I can't leave it anyway. I need to make money.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Oh, good evening, Kingpin. How are you? Ryhop, you shaking your head? Well, sir, you know what? You're gonna talk smack about my wine choices. I'm giving you the ban. No, I'm kidding. Take it away. Wait, what am I taking away? Do you want me to take away your... I'm kidding. I feel really mean tonight. I really do. I feel cruel.
Need to make my land payment. Need to make my car payment. Need to pay. Well, my insurance isn't due until April, but need to pay the light bill. And need to keep eating.
I don't know what he's
Need to
saying
pay a
right
phone.
now.
Need to get it.
I literally have no idea what he's saying right now. He could be literally saying anything. He could be talking about like a dozen wild badgers in his trousers, as far as I know. As far as I'm concerned, it's just nonsense. It's just complete and utter nonsense at this stage.
For phone. This thing's a piece of shit.
It's a piece of shit.
Well, I did ask. I mean, I was hoping that, Maria would maybe consider.
No, she won't. She wouldn't consider it.
What would she say if you asked?
She'd say no.
It never hurt to ask, Lord. My gosh. You know? What's the worst that can happen? She says no. Though I have heard through multiple sources that asking for permission is far harder than asking for forgiveness. Don't listen to me for any life advice. I swear to God, I give the worst advice ever. Like, don't listen. Don't do that. No.
She'd say no. She look at me like I lost my mind.
Hello.
She would look at you like you lost your mind?
Probably. Because of all the stuff that has happened before, I haven't even told her yet that I've been talking to you. I've seen her to talk about.
Well, I don't know. See if you could be transferred back to Mitchell. He's gay for you, so he probably wouldn't let you go.
And Mitchell got a promotion.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah, that's right. What if you were called for an interview? I can have my company send you a letter.
That's not going to do it either, because I'm not looking for another job other than with 8-week help.
Well, what if the Dewey Kyle ends up having you have out-of-state training?
They don't. Sorry, they can't.
Hold on, you're cutting out.
I already told them that I can only work in Maine. I can't work out of state.
Okay.
There's no way it can happen. So you can.
Sorry, I'm way more interested in the chat right now. Like, I don't even know what the hell is happening in this call.
Have to find somebody else.
I will, but I mean, it's I feel bad for you that you're unable to leave your
What is it,
state.
Cookie?
Like, that's gotta be miserable.
Cookie, what is it?
Really, it doesn't bother me because I've been all over the place anyway.
Come here, Cookie.
But I also didn't know that I was going to meet you, and didn't know that you were actually ever going to want to meet me after the last time. So I really didn't figure on any of this happening.
I have my...
I do know we need to meet soon, though.
Yeah, well, it could have happened in 2.5 weeks.
Well,
Oh, God. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh,
and I'm
fuck.
waiting to... We're going to be submitting our votes soon. But
Help.
with a bunch of people traveling
Cat butt.
and with them
I'm gonna be
doing
banned from YouTube. This
stuff like what they're
Stop.
doing with me,
Cookie.
sending me
Jesus.
across the country
Ow.
to travel, and other people are traveling and everything,
Ow, ow.
and not just traveling for work, but getting to turn it into like a vacation too. I really don't know what way the votes are going to go. I could say that maybe they're going to want to take an extra day off, the extra 2 days off, so that they can have 2 days to relax after
This is-
travel.
My dog is sick with... He has a disease, and I'm not sure. It keeps purring and shit. Cookie, you're gonna rip my fucking rosary beads out of my neck. Oh my word. That's the cat that kills birds. This is the cat that kills everything. It kills comfort, everything, all of it. Cookie, it's okay. Snuggle boy.
Maybe they're extra spending money for travel.
oh, wow. If it doesn't go
Where's the whipped
the
cream?
way that we
I'm sorry, excuse me, Mike Pence? Where's the whipped cream? That's it. I'm taking your wrench away. That's it. You had your chance. Wait, how do I... You ruined it. You could have had a good one. You could have had a good time, but no. You had to add the whipped cream. You had to make a Marvin Lackham joke about it. No. Nay. Cookie. Okay.
wanted to, and people would rather have the money.
I mean, it's like, it's truly 50-50, but the thing is that since after being there for a certain amount of time, we already get so much vacation time or days off or PTOs or whatever you want to call it. I don't know if they're going to think, hey, I could have an extra day off. I already have days that I can take off. Because basically what they're offering us is it would be 2 additional PTO days to take whenever we want. So you see what I mean? So whereas I was originally, whereas originally they told us that it would be, I can't remember if they had said like this particular Friday and then a Monday or a Monday and a Tuesday. I can't remember what they said, but originally they had it set, but now what they're doing is they're offering basically 2 additional PTO days or $500.
But you don't know which way it's going to go.
Can you hear him purring? Can you hear me chewing? Can you hear him purring? Look, listen. Can you hear the cat purring? Anyway.
I have, I couldn't even guess. I really think it's 50-50.
But if it goes the way, if it doesn't go the way that we want it to, then you're gonna have to plan for even a 2-day weekend to come up here.
That makes no sense. It is a 10-hour drive to do that for a 2-day weekend. So that means that I would have to drive there on a Saturday for 10 hours and then drive back on a Sunday for 10 hours.
And fly out.
Okay, fly up when? Fly up on a Saturday and then fly back on a Sunday?
Friday night.
Fly up Friday night, so the flight is, let's just say 5 hours. So fly up Friday after work, get there exhausted at midnight probably, and then wake up to have Saturday morning and then Sunday morning before I have to fly back.
He
That's
ruined my
really
goddamn
selfish
top.
that you'd ask me that.
He's 50 years old and he's like grounded, you know? It's ridiculous. Shit. Yeah, but yeah, it's absolute madhouse. It's shit house, you know? Yeah, he's 50 years old and he behaves as he's 15. I mean, okay, we've said this a billion times. There's nothing new there. But the fact that, you know, he he has to ask his mommy, you know, if he's allowed to leave to Texas. It's insane. Remember before he kept going on about how he, you know, oh, I can't afford a free trip. You know, if he leaves only 4 days for work, or is it 2 days or so X number of days for work, he, you know, they'll you know, they'll take his trailer, they'll fire him from work, the dogs will be taken, and all this. It's nuts, you know.
Yeah, I know, but we gotta figure something out.
Let's see what way they vote first. I honestly have no clue.
You're not fucking 10. Ah! Quoting Lauren.
It's truly a 50-50. It's one of the most up in the air things that I can imagine. I mean, true.
Clobber, I gotta tell you something. I don't think he's actually a virgin anymore. I backtracked, and yeah, I'm not convinced that he is actually a virgin. Just saying, just putting that out there. Whoop. I think he's smashed a couple times. At least once.
Truly, it is to me, and I'm sure some people already know how they're going to vote. I guess others do, others don't. I don't know. I haven't really talked to anybody to find out how they're going to vote, but I mean, if you took...
Yeah, but even if you talk to people and know what's on their mind,
if you asked, I mean, to me, it's like if you asked 100 people to choose a number between 1 and 2, pick one of those numbers, you could logically say that there's somewhat of a chance that half of the people would say each number, maybe not an even half, but relatively half and half.
Sir. Pence, is it? Okay. If you report this video, I'm going to find you and I'm going to come and puke on you. And it's not going to be a good time, let me tell you. It's basically going to be wine. It's just going to be wine. It's like a torrent of wine. And it's not going to be pretty. And everyone will be miserable. Everyone will be really sad about that. So I don't want that to happen, Mike Pence. I don't think you want to report this video. Otherwise, it's going to be very, very unfortunate.
100 people work at the place you do?
What did I say? I think it's 11 of us who are going to be voting.
11.
Because I remember it was an odd number, and so it wouldn't even be an even split.
You reported my video, my stream? How dare you? Hi, big black dog. How are you? I'm giving him a full sense of comfort. Oh my fucking word.
So all we can really do is wait and find out when's the vote supposed to be.
I think it was the week before. Hold on, I remember the date, but hold on, I remember it's on a Monday. Let me go back to the email.
Hang on, I guess fit. Hang on.
Okay.
Oh, it's the spitting. Oh, it's so delicious, isn't it? When it's, oh, you know. I personally, I can handle a lot. I can put up with a lot. But having someone consistently have mush mouth syndrome, it's not a good new. It's certainly not a good new moment. He's too scared to leave the comfort zone of his trailer, as miserable as it is. It's his son. He's an air sign my ass. Well, it's like fucking animal. Well, it's Lorne. When Lorne wants what he wants, he's not willing to bend around to get it. Like he wants, when he wants something, he wants it in his own specific way. That's it. He doesn't want to, like it has to be completely his way. Otherwise, he's not going to bother. He doesn't want to put in any effort. He doesn't have the ability to focus on something long enough to be able to put effort into it. How can he think a woman would want to hear that shit? Well, Scarlett, I believe that. Yeah, he thinks that, well, she loves him, so therefore it's fine. It's perfectly acceptable. She's still talking to me, so I can I can make dry dry heaving sounds. What is that like? I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna emulate that. I can hear people playing music in the background, and it's pissing me off.
Okay. So we could dry tonight.
Say again?
I thought it was wicked dry tonight.
Yeah, so about the vote, like, I literally have no idea. And if I could guess, I wouldn't even try, because, again, it's just like picking, what are people going to say, heads or tails?
You wouldn't want me to go to Texas with you anyway.
Why?
Why?
You'd be able to have sex with me every night.
What you said?
¿Qué pasó?
You'd be able to have sex with me every night.
Wait, I wouldn't want you to go to Texas because I would be able to have sex with you every night. Say that again?
Yeah.
Wow, what a good joke, Lorne. That was really funny, mate. That was really good. That was awesome. You got me. Yeah, you got me. What a funny man. I got it. I understood exactly what he was talking about. I knew the joke instantly. There you go. Should I turn heel? Yeah, why not? Why help? I don't know what you're turning heel for, but yeah, go for it. Like, if you can, the way I look at it, right? You want to play both sides against the middle. That's, I'm a turn cloak. I come from a very long line of turn cloaks. All of my relatives who have been on various sides of battles and wars and conflicts and shit, they always betrayed their side and went for the other side, and then they went back to their original side, and then went back and forth. They couldn't decide. They didn't know which one they wanted to fight for. Yeah. So there you go. She doesn't really want him around because he. Wow. Yeah. For sure, April. About 15 seconds doesn't constitute as a night, Lorne. Do you? Can you? Okay, I'm about to enter this territory. Let's just imagine, for instance, right, that Lorne had the ability to have sex with somebody, right, and he actually managed to ejaculate. I think that would kill him. It would kill him stone dead. He struggles to masturbate on his own. I don't think he is able to actually withstand the duration and level, physical level required to achieve everything without him having a full-blown heart attack. That's what I think. 15 seconds, including putting the condom on. The act of him putting the condom on will make him come instantly. I guarantee it.
I said, you wouldn't want me to go to Texas with you because you'd be able to have sex with me every night.
He can't. Stop it. Stop. You wouldn't want me to come to Texas because then you'll be able to have... What does that even mean? Like, what? That she won't be able to control herself and she just want to, like, jump your bones? Is that the way it goes? Is that what you're suggesting, Lorne? That's his foreplay. Well, it's something. It's certainly more than nothing. Yeah. So what is it? What is it? Like she just she doesn't have, you know, she's just like, oh my God, Lorne's in my physical, within my physical like circle in my sphere. I'm gonna have to mount him. I'm gonna have to mount him. That's that's how he thinks Ramona will be like. And I have to say, like he only comes when he hears when Dan says hello. Hello. Wait, what is the sound that Lorne makes? Like, what's the sound that when he ejaculates? It's like, ugh. Is that right? Who else remembers? Like, can you type out people, everyone, type out exactly how you think Lorne would actually make, what sort of sound he would make when he ejaculates? Because from all the bits and various memories I have of listening to him on the calls when he ejaculates, he sounds like, you know, which it sounds pretty, you know, it traumatizes me. You know, it makes me think that maybe I'm the one who's the virgin here, because it's like I don't, you know, it's shocking. It's honestly surprising that someone can sound that way, that is a human. You know, there we go, Sting. Thank you so much. You know, there you go. Michael Mendoza. Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! You know, never mind.
Oh.
I was kidding.
Wait, no, hang on. Big Black Dog, what did you just say? Hang on. Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold up. You know when you're really constipating and you're crapping and the equivalent of a concrete turd? That noise you make is the same. You sound like, okay, Big Black Dog, first of all, women don't poop. All right, that doesn't happen. You know, that's not a thing that occurs. Yeah, you know, it's just like, what is that? Oh, my cat ran away. Okay, so it's pretty full on, isn't it? It's like, you know, it's like, you know, it's like really trying to. Oh my word. Oh my fucking word. But yeah. I don't know what was I gonna say. Yeah, I love how it's like, oh, you know when you're really constipated, and you know how you know when you're really trying to shit out a concrete turd. Yeah, that's the sound. It's like, I guess. Lon actually believes women don't poop. It's true. There's a lot of effort involved. Yeah, I know. You're gonna have to drink a lot of water for that to happen. Speaking of,
You didn't get that?
sip of water.
Like, probably the one right over my head, but no. It's just gonna be a great time. There's a crap load of vegan restaurants out there, and museums, and Six Flags, and.
So you know that I can't go. Who you gonna bring?
I'm not sure.
Lorne's mom's a virgin with rage. Whose poop is she flinging at people with then? Scarlett, I love you so much. Scarlett, I love you. I have a crush on you.
Who do you have in mind?
I'm not even sure. I asked you. I hadn't given it a thought outside of booking it. As far as it's booked for 4.
Well, now that you're thinking about it, what do you?
I'm not thinking about who I'm bringing because I still just don't know. I'm not thinking about it yet.
Good.
And if you were thinking
Cigar
about
talk.
it, would it be a guy or a girl?
I haven't smoked a cigar in years. I would love to smoke a cigar. And you know what? I want them Cuban cigars that go like that, about that long. Like the longer, frankly, the longer the better. I you know, my personal preference. You know, like I remember once I smoked a cigar, and it was like infused with caramel. I don't know. But, I think caramel's a name actually, but caramel, the sweet burnt sugar, it was infused with. The tobacco leaves were fused with to produce this succulent cigar. It's empty. Oh, look at it. So, you're smoking a cigar right now. I am envious. Hey, is it true that Cuban cigars are illegal in US? Because that would be really sad. Okay, anyway, back to the story when I was smoking the caramel cigar really quick. So I was smoking, and then, you know how they say, oh, you're supposed to, like, savor it, and, you're not meant to smoke it in one big hit? I smoked the thing within one sitting. It was so good. It was, you could, like, taste the sugar and everything. I need sickly sweet things. I'm one of those types. Because I'm a bitter bitch, so, yeah, it was, oh, fuck, it was so good, though. And, like, but my lungs were screaming, but, I had a good time. That's the main thing. I had a really great time. I enjoyed myself. I pooped rainbows and cotton candy. I wish I could do the same. Cigars always remind me of Arnold from Yeah, Arnold and Predator. Yeah, Butch. Dylan, you son of a bitch. What, cat? What are you doing? Silly boy. You son of a bitch. And then they, like, do the arm wrestle in the air like that. And then they're like, ha! Making you push too many pencils. Make it easy on yourself, Butch. On Dutch, that's his name. Make it easy on yourself, Dutch. Oh my god. Guys, I have a really good idea. Okay, hear me out on this one, alright? How about we have, like, a movie marathon on YouTube, and we watch The Predator. I'll find a copy of Predator somewhere. Anyway, we'll just continue this call while I try to scan for.
It'll be one of my friends, but I'm not sure. I just don't know. I mean, I might ask a couple people, and knowing that some of them won't be able to go, I just have no clue. I just really don't know. You were the first person I asked, and the only person I've asked, and so